Goosebumps. We're live. Okay, so link here in the chat box, link on the WhatsApp group.
So let's try to see here. Thank you, Vinicius.
Now, can you just say hi in the chat box on YouTube, please, so I can pin you, or I can make you contributors? Okay, so link here in the chat box.
Okay, so let me do that. Just a sec.
Talent for do is Sue, right? Now, can you just say hi in the chat box on YouTube, please? Marcus, okay. Or I can make you contributors. Good afternoon, Celine. Selene, I suppose.
Celine Dion.
Yeah. Sue, Thelma, is it you whose audio is coming?
Yes,
to
on my telephone. I'm trying to.
Okay.
Okay.
Carol, would you like to say hi? I mean, can you say hi in the YouTube channel so you can become a moderator too? Done.
I missed.
Okay, hi everybody, thank you for coming. Just one more minute to go. Okay. T Vega, also moderator if you want. Or if you don't, just let me know, please.
I do.
Okay. Mark, feel free to just say hi too if you want to become a moderator in the YouTube channel. Hi, Victor Hugo. Yeah. Hello. Okay, can't listen. Please, Jean, make sure your YouTube volume is up. I think we can all hear it. It's working well. Okay, so I think I'm gonna be starting. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. So first of all, thank you very much for coming and joining us in this beautiful sunny afternoon and very warm here in São Paulo too. This is another session by the BRAZ-TESOL Teachers Month event, a series of webinars organized by our SIGs, our special interest groups. This afternoon, we'll focus on pronunciation in our event called Connecting the Dots Between Pronunciation Instruction and Students' Production. On behalf of the Pronunciation SIG board, I'd like to start by wishing you a great event full of learning and sharing. We'd like to thank you all for being here. Our sponsors, Bridge Educational Group, Cultura Inglesa, GISAL, GSOP, Financial Literacy, National Geographic Learning, and SBS. Please remember to check the next sessions in the link on our braztesol.org.br website. The links will be shared in the chat box in a while, and also to give us feedback in the link I'm gonna send. Let me just copy the links here. So this link is for the program, and this link now, the bit.ly, is for the feedback. We have 43 attendees so far, and starting our sessions, I'd like to read our description already. So being at the beginning of the last quarter of 2020, we still find ourselves struggling to approach pronunciation in the classroom, either because we, teachers of English, have not been properly taught pronunciation, or because we have not had formal instruction on how to teach it to our learners. In this event, the Pronunciation SIG will explore some of the underpinning reasons why we should teach and learn pronunciation, share practical tips to do so and analyze how this will positively impact on our language lessons. Today, I'm joined by Carol Gonçalves, Sue Cons, Thelma Marques, who are part of the board with me, and two very special guests, Mark Hancock and T. Vega, for our first session. Briefly reading your bio datas now. I feel like I've been talking too long now. Mark Hancock is a teacher, trainer, and author based in UK. He holds an MA in teaching English from Aston University. His books include Pronunciation Games by Cambridge University Press, 1995, English Pronunciation and Use, 2003, Authentic Listening Practice, Delta, 2014 with Annie MacDonald, and Brown Pack 1 through 4, Hancock MacDonald ELT, 2017. He also runs the teacher resource websites, brownpack.com and hancockmacdonald.com with Annie MacDonald. And T. Vega is a Trinity Cert-TESOL tutor, teacher, teacher trainer, and materials designer based in Rio de Janeiro. He holds a BA in languages by UFRJ, Universidade Federal do Rio de Janeiro, a specialization in media education by PUC-Rio, the CPE and Delta modules 1 and 2, currently working on module 3. An active member of the ELT community, T is part of the BRAZ-TESOL Advisory Council and has been a pedagogical coordinator for BRAZ since 2015. For their session, Pronunciation Teaching Lessons from the Lockdown, during the lockdown, many of us had to take our classes online. This meant adapting our approaches because many of our usual techniques would not work so well in this new environment. But was it all bad? In this session, we will share some of the lessons they learned. They will share some lessons they learned about teaching pronunciation, which helped during the lockdown, but which may also be of value once face-to-face teaching returns. With you all, Mark Hancock and T. Vega, enjoy, have a great session.
Thank you very much, Vinicius, for that wonderful introduction. Before I start, how about, do you want to say something, Taylor, to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. We're very happy to be here. Mark and I talking about pronunciation, which happens to be one of our favorite things to talk about, if not our favorite thing to talk about. So this presentation is entitled Lessons from the Lockdown, but like Vinicius said, hopefully these are lessons that you can take beyond the lockdown, which hopefully soon we're not going to have to deal anymore. Just a quick reminder with a little bit of self-production promotion too. On January 10th, both Mark and I are going to be back with our pronunciation course for teachers. So if you want to be together with us for 7 weeks studying about spelling, consonant sounds, vowel sounds, stress, intonation, connected speech, models, like which models should I go, should I prioritize in my lesson, how do I make sure my students are intelligible, and a bonus 7th week, join us. Go to prounforteachers.com and registration is not open yet, but we're going to start our pre-registration soon for the January course, but keep this date in mind, okay? So Mark, over to you.
Thank you, yes. So today we're going to talk about teaching pronunciation online, because we have to teach online at the moment. And it's not ideal for pronunciation because there's something about pronunciation which is unique about pronunciation compared to other aspects of language, is its physicality. It's the most physical of the language aspects of the language skills, right? And you might think that maybe that the online environment isn't the best for dealing with such a physical aspect of the language. So I want to talk about first of all, in the first section of the talk, I want to talk about using gestures, which is the intersection of speech and the physical. Let me begin by telling you a joke, and you have to laugh, okay? So here we go. A hungry crocodile crawls into a restaurant and asks for the menu. Sorry, says the waiter, we don't serve animals in here. Really, says the crocodile, but you serve people, don't you? Yes, of course, says the waiter. Wonderful, says the crocodile. I'll have one of those then. Okay, when you've stopped laughing, let me try and talk about what kind of pronunciation was embedded in that little piece of text. First of all, you've got things like word stress. You've got crocodile, 3 syllables, stress on the first. Restaurant, is that 2 syllables or 3? Depends how you pronounce it, right? The way I pronounced it, it was 2, restaurant. So you've got word stress. Then you've got, in connected speech, you've got things like this. A hungry crocodile crawls into a restaurant and asks for the menu. What you can hear is an alternation of stressed syllables and weak, unstressed syllables, and that's called rhythm. So usually the rhythm is created by the stressed syllables in the content words, and the unstressed syllables being the function words, the grammatical words. So that's another feature. And then you've got intonation. For example, the crocodile says, really? With that rising intonation suggesting a question. But you serve people, don't you? Another question intonation there. Yes, of course, says the waiter. Yes, of course. Then you put a falling intonation for a very definite statement there. So that's another aspect. And then finally, I would mention the tonic stress. For example, we don't serve animals in here, but you serve people, don't you? And then you can hear a strong emphasis on people because it's contrasting with animals in the previous sentence. All of these features, which you can hear in the voice, you can also see in the face. You might notice that my eyebrows tend to raise on the stressed syllables. And okay, I exaggerate that a little bit, but it reinforces the message, and people actually do that in reality. So that the face reinforces the prosodic structure of the text. And the hands, right? They tend to emphasize things with different gestures. So a hungry crocodile crawls into a restaurant. So you can use your hands as well, and make sure that you're aware of the camera if you're going to do this in your lessons, because you don't want your gestures going off the edge of the picture. So maybe just check where the outlines of your frame are when you're doing this. So exaggerate the physical gestures that reinforce the pronunciation points you're teaching. Play to the camera yourself, but also encourage your students to do the same. Instead of sort of mumbling down to the desk, for example, encourage them to look to the camera and animate what they're saying a little bit. Also, in terms of response, if you're working with the camera rather than with slides, you can probably see all of your class in little rectangles on the screen in front of you. And if you want to encourage interaction in the classroom, like in a real classroom, you can see all of the faces in front of you. And instead of asking your students to respond verbally, because then you get into a right mess, because you can't connect the voice with the picture so easily online, you can actually get your students to use gestures to respond, and that you can see immediately. So for example, if you've got two choices in a minimal pair game, you can get them to go, say, thumbs up for one choice or thumbs down for the other, or whatever, using different kinds of signaling. That means that you can get responses from your students immediately without having to mess around with unmuting one by one and not being able to connect the voice with the picture of the student. So yes, don't just hide behind the anonymity when you're doing teaching pronunciation online. Emphasize your gestures. And with that, we have to admit that apart from using the camera, you also need to show sometimes more text on screen. And this is where slide share comes in. So it's very important to be able to use the slide share effectively, or screen share. So I'd like to pass the microphone over to Taylor to talk about sharing the screen and how you can do that, and the kind of things you can do.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, when we think of online teaching, I think the number one thing that comes to our minds is screen shattering, because unlike face-to-face lessons, we don't have our boards anymore. And we're teachers, we love writing on the board, sometimes drawing on the board. And sometimes when we're not used to remote learning, this gets a little bit intimidating, I would say. So let me just show you how you can use some activities that we used to do and our students love in face-to-face lessons here in the online environment. First, this is a game that you can find on Hancock.com, hancockmcdonald.com. The address is there on the screen. This is the URL refers to the Melon Maze, but there you have the football maze too. And what is the goal here of this activity, first of all? It's to work on word stress. And why do I love this activity, and why is it super important and super relevant for our Brazilian learners here? Because if you have a look here, most of these words, they're kind of similar to their Brazilian Portuguese counterparts, like football, futebol, police, polícia, machine, máquina. So they're pretty similar. So even perhaps A1, A2 learners, they would be familiar with many of these words. Now, what happens is not everything in life is that easy. So stress is likely to be different. And in this activity, students would get out of the maze. So they start here with football, and then they need to do whatever it takes to leave the maze here in the word feedback. So this is the pattern, papa, papa. So football, football. You see, the stress here is on the first syllable. This is an activity that I used to do in class, face-to-face with my students. It used to work very well. You could do that with the whole group, eliciting their answers, or you could perhaps have students work in pairs or in small groups. But how do we do that online? How do we make that happen without losing that interactivity that we so love from our face-to-face lessons? So a suggestion that I have here is this tool it is one of the tools from Google Suite, is called Gemboard. You might be already familiar with Gemboard because it's become pretty popular, I would say, over the last 6 months. And perhaps you never thought of using Gemboard for pronunciation, but I'm going to show it to you how it works. First, let me show you how you can actually make your Gemboard. You're going to go to your Google Drive, and then you'll see this button here, new. And then as you click there, you'll see like, okay, do you want a new folder, a new file upload? What would you like? And then you have to click here on more, right under Google Slides. And then you'll see Google Forms, Google Drawings, and then here at the bottom, Gemboard. And then you just click there and you'll be able to create your Gemboards. Now, let me show it to you. And I hope you'll help me. I know there is a slight delay that we are working with here on YouTube, but I really would like to have your contribution. So as you can see here, we have the maze on the screen. If you share this with your students, if you share the link with your students, they'll be able to see the link. So some possibilities here are, you perhaps can have multiple copies of the maze and have students work in pairs, like group 1 works with this one, and then you have copies for group 2, 3, and 4. And how does it work? Why do I think this is a great idea and super interactive? Because they have the pen here. So if you look here at this left, here on the left, you can choose the pen, choose the color of the pen. And this is the part where I really do need your help. So as I said before, we are going to start here with football. Now, where are we going to go? Remember, for us to be able to get out of the maze, we need to follow the same strats pattern, like pum, 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 pum. So football, feedback. So we need to keep that in mind. Let me see if we have some contributions here already on YouTube, because I would really like to know where you think I should go after football. Okay. So I'm having a look here at the chat as we speak. Well, if you thought of the word problem, you were right. So again, I'm here with my pen. So from football, I go to problem, right? And now I have all these other options here. I can go to police, guitar, hotel, color. So as you can see, it gets a little bit more complicated each time as it progresses, because here I only had 2 options, police and problem. Now I have police, problem, guitar, hotel, color. So where do you think I should go now? Let me see here in the comments. Okay, well, if you thought color, that is right. And then you would go on like this. Well, let me circle color here for you. All right. So then you would go on like this. You go to football, problem, color, tourist. And like I said, you can work this with this in groups, giving them the link. So students are actually the ones conducting the activity, making the circles, discovering the path. And I think this is a really fun way for us to, to give them a sense of agency that perhaps they haven't really had in online lessons lately. Another activity that we can use that I also made into a Google Jamboard is pronunciation journey. In this one, this is also available on hancockmacdonald.com. So the links are going to be very soon given to you. How does this work? For this one in particular, we need to decide where we're going. Where does our pronunciation journey take us? So on one column, you have some words here with the short, with it, what we would call like the short is sound, like living, hit, slip, feel. And then the long E, like living, heat, sleep, and feel. So depending on the word that I say, I will go left or I will go right. And depending on where I go, I'm going to get to a different destination here. So for instance, just warming up now. If I say living, what I mean is to say this word. I don't know if it was good enough. I hope it was. But I meant living. And if after living, I'm here, I say hit. So I go left again, my left. And if I keep going left, I'm going to get to London. So this is a fun activity for you to have with your students so they know what works and what doesn't work. And this is a great activity for you to do in pairs. Once again, they can just draw the lines here, so it makes it a little bit easier, I would say, because it makes it a little bit more visual. One of the struggles that we have is that pronunciation is not often so visible, but here they're making it visible by choosing where they would like to go. So perhaps we can play a little bit. I think I still have some time. Well, let me see if this is going to go well, because I'm going to try to work here with you guys on YouTube. You ready? I hope so. So I want to go to leaving, and then hit, leaving, hit, slip. So leaving, hit, slip, and fill. Any idea where I went? Sometimes it's difficult, right? So let's do it together with the green one. So let me even choose a new pencil. Let me choose a highlighter. So I first did this, leaving, right? So leaving, and then hit, and then slip, and then fill. So I went to Buenos Aires, very beautiful city. And if you want, if you're interested, if you liked the Gemboards that I just showed you, as I said, these can be found on hancockmacdonald.com. But if you want, you can already use these as they are. You don't have to make your own. Just follow these links. bit.ly, ly is ly, /word stress maze, and then bit.ly/pron journey. Now, first to think of these things, of like things like stress and intonation, we also have to keep in mind that we need to make pronunciation as visible as possible, like I said before. So Mark is going to talk to you about how to make sure that the articulation of the sounds, which is super important, is clear and visible once we teach online. So Mark, over to you again. Mark, you're on mute, so you need to unmute yourself first. Right.
Okay. In that game that you were just doing with Taylor there, going on the pronunciation journey, the difference was between the long E, and the I. So leave and live. The great thing about teaching online, by the way, is that you can do it without a mask on. And that means you can see the lips, which is very important for teaching pronunciation. You can actually see the difference between leave and live. For leave, maybe you can see around my mouth here, there's a certain muscular tension here, leave, and a great big wide spread lips, leave. And for the other one, you've got live. It's much more relaxed, not much expression there at all. Live. So you can point out the articulation, which is perfectly visible if I haven't got a mask on. You can maybe reinforce that idea using like an elastic band here as a metaphor. Look here for the muscular tension of leave. You've got this boing, boing, boing elastic band, lots of tension there, leave. And for the live, it's all slack. So you can use physical objects and your actual mouth to make the pronunciation clearer to the students. Pronunciation is often completely visible to the eye. I think maybe all of you are too young to know Ching Maya, right? Ching Maya was a great Brazilian soul singer from the last century. And his first name is actually an anglicized name. I would call it Tim. And so when I heard of Ching Maya, I thought, Ching, I've never heard this name before. It would never have occurred to me that Ching could be the same thing as Tim. Because in my language, an M at the end of the words must have the lips closed. Tim. And that's perfectly visible. So if your students are going to say Ching and the lips don't close, it's actually problematic. So encourage them to make sure that their lips close and show them how it looks, Tim. And get them to do the same when they speak to you to the camera. You can check that their lips close at the end there. So there's an example of something which is absolutely obvious. You can see it. There's lots of aspects of pronunciation which are perfectly visible. Take, for example, the famous TH sounds that everybody seems to hate. Th. Well, the good thing about them, if there is anything good to say about th, it's that you can actually see it. You can see the end of my tongue sticking out below my upper teeth there. Th. I could go right close to the camera so you could see it, but I think that might be a little bit off-putting for you. So I'll just stay at this distance. Th. So you can demonstrate, your students can actually see, and you can see if your students are getting it right. You can say, look, I can't see your tongue. What else? You've got things like aspiration. The sounds P, T, and K in English have a certain puff of air which comes out of the mouth. So you can demonstrate this to students using the little paper experiment, which, let me see if I can find a piece of paper. There we go. Not a very good piece of paper. Oh yeah, it's good enough. Here's a piece of paper. When I say P, you'll notice that the paper goes away. Whereas if I just say the B sound, B, nothing. P, perfect. That doesn't happen with a Portuguese P, does it? It happens with an English P, P, and it helps to distinguish the P from the B. If you don't have that puff of air, it's going to sound a little bit like a B to English speaking ears. So you can do little experiments like that. If you want to distinguish the S from the Z, the S, Z, that's all about the voiced or voiceless, and you can do this little experiment If you put your hand here, no vibration. And then you can feel a vibration on your hand. It's something else you can show your students into the camera this way. Or do it on the top of the head, that's even better. Or you can put your hand here. Or the best one of all is this. When you do the voiced sound with your fingers in your ear, it feels like your whole head's going to explode. So these little experiments, I call them experiments, make it very practical, hands-on experience for your students. They can learn about the pronunciation. And the lips, you can actually do lip reading. Let me try this, an experiment here. I've got, here we go, 3 vowel sounds here. Some of them are quite problematic for Brazilian learners, particularly the difference between these two here. But the good news is it's visible. You can actually see the difference in the lips. So what I will do, I'm going to say let me just read them all out first of all, and just watch my lips as I speak, and you'll see the difference between these vowel sounds. Bit, bet, bat, hid, head, had, miss, mess, mass, miss, met, mat. So you can see that the jaw gets more open as I go across. Here the mouth is relatively closed. Here it's in the middle somewhere, and here it's wide open, and you can see it. You can actually see the wide open mouth. So you can do a lip reading game where you say the word silently, and then the students put up their fingers 1, 2, or 3 to indicate which one they heard or didn't hear, but saw. Lip reading game, right? Let me try this. Put up your finger, 1, 2, or 3. I can't see everybody, by the way. I know you find this hard to believe, but I can't see you. I can only see Taylor. So I'm afraid that it's going to be you, the guinea pig in this game. You've got to, yeah, you've got to do your fingers, right? So here we go.
I don't get one more shot? Oh my God.
Yeah, you get one more shot, but only if you ask for it.
Oh my God, I feel so blind today, but I think that's where you went.
Yes!
Good, so it worked.
How did you know? I think you knew because my mouth was like really wide open and you could see right into the back of the mouth there. Ah! Bat. Your students, if they want to produce this sound here, it's simply a question of opening their mouth more than they ever thought possible, right? This one here, the in the middle, bet. Let's call this this is the familiar one. The middle one is perfectly familiar from Portuguese, no problem at all. These two on either side, slightly problematic because they don't exactly exist in Portuguese, these two. So you can use the middle as a kind of anchor to fix the position and then go narrower, more narrow the mouth for this and more wide for that. And you can do this lip reading game with you, the teacher, doing it and the students saying which one they hear. But equally, you can hold up this paper and get your students to do the lip reading game, saying the word silently for you and everybody else in the class to decide which one it is. And being conscious of the opening of the mouth is one way of approaching these difficult front vowels, which they have such difficulty with in Brazilian Portuguese. So there's another aspect of articulation. And then drilling. I want to talk about drilling as well. Drills, I know it sounds horrible, but they're so useful for pronunciation teaching. And it's one of the most crap aspects of pronunciation teaching online is that drilling, you can't do it. Or can you? Let's try. The trick is to make sure that your students remain on mute. You might think, well, then it's pointless. But actually not. You can actually see when the students, you can see them on the screen in front of you. You can see them and the way they're moving, and you can pretty much, let's say, intuit how well they're doing just from looking at them. And secondly, the other point is the practice is for them. So if they're doing it and you can't hear, it doesn't necessarily matter. After you've done the drilling activity, you can then select individual students to unmute and perform. But for the actual presentation of the drill, you can do it without hearing them, and it's still a valid activity. So what I'm saying here is, don't abandon drilling simply because it's not very feasible in the online environment. So let me demonstrate with an example. I've written here a little poem, and this poem here focuses on the vowel sound O, which is problematic for Brazilian students. I guess I think of the word so, S-O, which also has a meaning in Portuguese, right? But the pronunciation is completely different. I always found it quite difficult to work out how to pronounce olha só, in Portuguese, because in English, it's just not allowed to end a word with a short vowel. So it just feels wrong, só. In English, if a vowel sound occurs at the end of a word, we want it to be long or a diphthong. So is going to be a diphthong, and it's got this movement from O. You can see the mouth closing around that vowel sound there. So loads of examples of it in this here rhyme. I'll just demonstrate it to you. Joe Stone fell and broke a bone, posing for a photo on a mobile phone. Oh no, poor old Joe got to go home with a broken toe. I put the beat with underlines here, so you can see where the beat falls. There's 2 beats in each line, so I could emphasize it like this. Joe Stone fell and broke a bone, posing for a photo on a mobile phone. Oh no, poor old Joe got to go home with a broken toe. I would demonstrate it a couple of times like that to the students, and then get them to repeat 2 lines at a time. So we can do that right now, but keep yourself on mute, right? So I'll do 2 lines, and then you do the same 2 lines. Joe Stone fell and broke a bone, posing for a photo on a mobile phone. Oh no, poor old Joe got to go home with a broken toe. Ah, perfect. I can see Taylor, and he's doing it very well there, I can tell. You can actually break it down into shorter bits. For example, I've indicated with the green here, I've indicated linking. Usually if a word ends with a consonant and the next one begins with a vowel sound, there's going to be a linking because the consonant kind of joins onto the vowel afterwards. So you can't tell if it's at the end of one word or the beginning of the next. So you've got fell and broke a bone, fell and broke a bone, fell and broke a bone. So what I do is sometimes I just make a very short loop and just keep saying it and encourage the students to join in once they get the hang of it, and just keep going round and round and round. You'll notice, oh, I'll do it. I'm just going to just use the beginning of this phrase here. Okay, I've not done this before, so it's an experiment. Join in when you're ready. Felon broker, 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 felon broker. You can slow it down, speed it up, play around with it. You can make a shorter loop. Felon, 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 felon. So you can play around with the sounds here and get your students to join in. And actually, the way it sounds weird, right? When you do a micro loop like that, and that weirdness is actually a good thing because your students are forced to listen more objectively. Because the trouble is, sometimes when you're listening, you hear what you expect to hear rather than the actual evidence. So these micro loops, they subtract the meaning out of it. So all you can hear is the sound substance. And that's a really good thing. So you can play around with all of the lines in a poem like this. And you can spend a good 15 minutes working on something like this and then get your students to perform it. Maybe then you can get one of them to unmute and try it out. And then it's a good thing to do at the end of a class, because then when you say goodbye everybody, when they leave the room and go and make themselves a cup of coffee, they'll probably have it going round in their head afterwards, doing homework that you didn't even ask them to do. Anyway, that's enough of that, because talking of audio, I'd like to go onto the topic of audio, and here Taylor's going to come back in and talk about using audio in the pronunciation classroom. Taylor, over to you.
Right. So when we think of pronunciation, there is no way to disconnect pronunciation from listening. And these activities that I'm going to show you here, you can use them sometimes in class, or they can be done after class. So it is a very good way to also consolidate the language, consolidate sound, consolidate perhaps stress, intonation, anything that you've been working. So first, I think the first thing that comes to mind is having them practice individually. And when we talk about audio, like sending audio, the first thing that comes to mind is this, like a cell phone, because nowadays pretty much everyone has a cell phone. And students are using their cell phones all the time. So any piece of homework that you assign in which they have to use their cell phones ends up being pretty practical, because some students like take their cell phones with them to the bathroom or pretty much anywhere. So they'll have the chance to do that, perhaps piece of unconventional homework whenever they want, basically. So you may work with them so they can send you like messages, or like I said before, anything that you've been working in your classroom. It can be stress, intonation. They can perhaps try to get out of a maze with you and send you the answers. But something that we perhaps don't do as much is working with them like as a group, with the whole group, especially with the individual students. For instance, I do lots of exam prep. So for IELTS, the student has to, there is a task in the speaking task in which they have to speak for 2 minutes. So they send me that monologue and I can analyze the pronunciation, give them some feedback. But with whole group is something that we don't normally do. So I think a very good and underused resource is to have like WhatsApp groups, or perhaps a group on Telegram if you don't want to, for whatever reason, to use WhatsApp. So you can have a mobile project with them. Try to get students from different nationalities, perhaps even different groups that you have, because for instance, some teachers, especially some private teachers, they do not have like so many students. So that's not a problem. That doesn't need to stop you. You can go and talk to other teachers and get other students, and then collaborate with other teachers from across the globe. And why here? Students from different nationalities. Well, basically, because if all your students are from the same country, like if your students are Brazilian, then it's going to be easier for them to understand each other. Uh, Perhaps they're going to have the same pronunciation patterns that would perhaps not be so intelligible sometimes to other speakers, but when it's among them, Brazilian students, it's very easy for them to understand. And well, how and where can you get students from different nationalities? Just this week, I came across this post here. Um, I just put something here on the person's name because I didn't really tell them that I was going to use this. Didn't have time because this was literally from, I think, a few hours ago. This group, like Cecilia Nobre's group, you probably know her, Private English Teachers Reloaded, which is a very good group for private teachers, I must say. And if you're not a private teacher, this is also going to be a very good Facebook group for you. You see this teacher, she's looking for students. Her students are B1, they're 17 years old, and they're from Belgium. So she would rather not have students who speak French or Spanish. So she has here some ideas, and you can really do that. You can collaborate with your community, and the English teaching community is, I would say, amazing in this sense, because teachers are normally super excited about collaborating with others like that. And then have them interact. Pronunciation is about communication. This is something that we can never forget. We teach individual sounds, we teach aspects of word stress and sentence stress because we want these things to be used in real life. And sometimes students need to practice the language in a way, in an environment that is not so contrived. And you don't necessarily have to, you know, give feedback all the time, uh, like every single thing that they speak that was not so clear. You can use that sometimes as a resource for you to see what you need to work with in class, and then have them go back to the WhatsApp or Telegram group. If you, like I said, if you don't want to use WhatsApp, perhaps Telegram is an alternative. Apparently with Telegram, students don't see each other's numbers. So if you have any privacy concerns, that could be an idea. So making use really of these tools that we already use in, let's say, like real life, well, we can definitely also use them in our classroom, in outside of the classroom, as I said, in a less contrived uh, way. And I don't know if you noticed here, but in my slides, I have like a flash drive here, a cell phone, an apple, a cup of coffee. And sometimes we think that just because we're in the online environment, um, like in a part of my house, you're at home, this is completely disconnected from the outside world. This is completely disconnected from the reality that we used to have before, but it doesn't really need to be. And Mark is going to show you how to use some of these things, a lot of realia for you to make your pronunciation lessons a little bit more fun, and also with some resources, because it doesn't have to be everything here. Right now I have a PowerPoint with things, but it doesn't have to be all there. You can certainly continue working with the resources that you had before for your face-to-face lessons. Remember, you're still muted, Mark. Happens to me all the time. And my students are like, teacher, you're on mute. And I'm sorry.
So people talk about blended learning and flipped classroom and all of these things. And usually it was when we were teaching face-to-face, it was adding to your lessons an online component. But right now, we're going to change that completely, because if you're teaching online all the time, then blending and flipping becomes a matter of actually trying to bring in real life sometimes, just to get away from always being in screen mode. So you can actually use stuff that you normally used to use in your classroom. You can make your room into a classroom space and use it physically. You may notice behind me, I've got this poster, right? So you can actually, it is allowed, it's legal to stand up. You can actually stand up, and you can stand up and talk to the camera from a standing position. It's nice to get out of your chair sometimes, right? And can you see that? There's a bit of a glare. Maybe I need to twist this. There we go, that's a bit better. So I'll just talk about this vowel sound chart for a moment, just to kind of demonstrate the kind of thing I mean here. Okay, so in this vowel chart, we have long sounds around the outer edge and the short vowels on the inner circle, and the reduced vowel in the middle. I'll bring it a bit closer to you. There we go. The ones on that side are produced near the front of the mouth with the tongue forward. And the ones on this side are produced at the back of the mouth with the tongue pulled back and with the mouth rounded. The ones at the front with the mouth wide here, and this one rounded. Let's try it. I'm just going to say the vowel sound in teeth. E. And then the one in boot is ooh, ooh, ooh. And then you can get your students to join in and morph between them, following the finger. E. You have to join in. I'm doing this at home. I hope you're doing this at home. I mean, don't be embarrassed about your family in the other room, because they're going to love it. Each corner of the hexagon, long vowel, song, pure, so you can extend it as long as you like, which is great for the melody. Here we're getting the difference. The difference you can see if you look at my mouth, you can see that the lips are wide for this one and then rounded for this one. Let's try the other dimension, going north, south. All right, so this one is now we're going to morph between the two. I. And if you've been watching carefully, you will have noticed a great big hole appearing in my face as I go down here, because the fact is, at the top end of the chart, the jaws are closed. At the bottom end of the chart, the jaws open. If you put your finger on your nose and your thumb on your chin, you can feel the movement. There you go. I proved it, right? So you can go around like this. This is halfway between, by the way, halfway between closed and open. Is just like but long. If you demonstrate this sound, you have to clip it short, otherwise it's going to change into this one. So I can't extend this one. I can just repeat it like this. And this one. You must exaggerate the shortness of the inner circle sounds. So you can morph between them. Well, you get the picture. So you can play around with the chart or a poster. You can ask your students to have a mental connection between each sound, like the ooh, ooh, ooh. What does that sound like to you? I'm guessing that you think it sounds like surprise. Ooh, nice surprise. Ooh, ooh, cake. Ooh. Whereas maybe you think of the dentist, because the dentist maybe says, say have you had a nice day? You have to have your mouth wide open for the dentist, right? So that he can see so that she can see the fillings that need doing. So is the dentist sound. Let's say it's the dentist sound. And then every other class in the future, you can just say, oh, you remember the dentist sound? Each of these different sounds has a name and a personality which you've developed as a class. You can suggest what it is, or the students can say what it is. So the ooh, the surprised sound. The dentist sound. The stupid sound. And etc. So you can make these things come to life. So what am I saying here? I'm saying you can use posters and stuff in your online classes too. And why? Because it's a change of focus. It can bring things to life a little bit more. You can animate things. The students can see your face clearly, and you can see your students and see how they react. So there's an argument for using posters. It doesn't have to be a big poster. You can print yourself a smaller one and stick it on your filing cabinet or whatever. I've got a filing cabinet right here. Look, this is where I use this. This is just one of those pages that you get from a whiteboard, that paper. And it's I've stuck it on with magnets onto the filing cabinet. So you can get creative with the furniture in your room. You can use real stuff. For example, if your camera moves like this, you can use things like these phoneme dice here, right? Here you've got a vowel and a consonant. Can I make a word? Ohm. No, that's not a word, is it? Mo. Right. I will stay with the O and put that L-O, low. You can ask your students to write that word, if there is a word, in the chat box. Maybe they're going to write L-O-W, low, low. Is there one that way around? Oh, no, I guess not. Anyway, these kind of dice objects, you can use that. If you've got a movable camera like this, you can use a book. Look, let's say you wanted to do an activity from a book. You can point it out using the book and directing to the camera and using your finger to explain how it goes when you're setting up an activity. And then you can come back, bring it back. You can use flashcards, of course. Here's some flashcards of a minimal pair. Bear or beer. Ask your students to make a gesture for bear like this, because that's what a bear looks like, right? If you've ever seen a bear, they look like this. And a beer, well, a beer looks like this. So you can get your students to make the gesture according to which one they hear. All right. Taylor, I've got my eye on you. Bear. Yes, that's exactly what I meant. That was a miracle of communication. Thank you. So you can use flashcards, of course. You can use, well, I mean, it's nice to have a blackboard, right? You could actually get yourself a whiteboard. On some teachers teaching online, they use a whiteboard. Why not? Or you can use cutouts. I sometimes use Harry Halfhead here when I want to talk about the anatomy of the mouth. So you can talk about the different parts of the mouth and the alveolar ridge, etc., using a cutout. Or if you have a sound that you talk about a lot, but you don't want to keep referring to something else, you can make a cutout of the symbol, like, for example, that, which is a schwa. You can use the cutout every time you want to refer to it, just so they remember what it looks like. So yes, all I'm saying is be creative with the room that you're in, and you don't have to be locked in to high tech all the time. You can use the old-fashioned low tech to get that blend sometimes in your teaching. And with that, I'd like to move over to Taylor, who's going to talk a little bit about using video in classroom to bring pronunciation alive that way.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. But before that, Vinicius, how much time do we have? Do we have more time?
Okay, so we had separated, let's see, around 15 minutes for the Q&A starting now. So I'd like everybody to start asking the questions so that Vega and Hancock can see the questions already in the YouTube chat box. But yeah, please do, Vega, start your last session, your last section of the session.
It's going to be fast, I promise.
Go for it.
So let me talk to you a little bit more about video. The wonderful thing about using videos is that nowadays it's very easy for you. Oh, let me share with sound. I'm not sure I'm sharing with sound. Sorry. Yes, now I am. Perfect. Nowadays you can just go to YouTube or any other website, perhaps even like TikTok or Instagram, if you want to have different Englishes in your classroom. I'm going to show you an activity in which I wanted to have Brazilian English specifically because I wanted to raise my students' awareness of their own English and their own accents. So for instance, here I had the very famous Brazilian supermodel, Gisele Bündchen, and here she's talking about mud treatment that she normally uses. I'm just going to show you the very beginning of the video just for you to have an idea. First, I would always go for meaning. So ask a general question, just a just question. So just first to give your students a purpose to watch the video, but also to get them used to hearing different English. Even though she's Brazilian and I don't feel they normally have difficulty to understand her, they might have difficulty to understand other speakers with the other Englishes. So let me just play the very beginning for you.
So now you guys, I'm gonna fill you in my little secret, my little childhood secret. I used to go in the ponds with my friends and my sisters and everybody in Brazil, and we used to take the mud from the end of the pond and put it in our face and let it dry, and it would actually take the impurities off my skin, and it totally like dry out our skin and like help dry out my pimples. And I was like, that's it. So I loved it. So when I was thinking about the products, I was like,
all right. And then right after that, I would show them these questions, these pronunciation questions. In this case, my students were already very familiar with the IPA, so these symbols were not new for them. But if your students are not, that is totally fine. You can still work with pronunciation. My main message here in the segment is that you don't have to be like a pronunciation expert to work with pronunciation like this, to analyze speaker's pronunciation. So here, how does she pronounce the L sound in words as like fill in this chunk that she says, fill you in? How does she pronounce the L sound in pimples? So here we have this very interesting cluster, this P sound, this L sound, this Z sound in pimples. She does use a different sound for the word love, but what sound is it that she uses? What about when she says other, this and that? She uses something else. So I'm already kind of feeding the students a little bit and telling them, okay, she does use something different. What does she use? What about in with? And then I would let them watch once again. And then here are the answers. Like I said before, these students, they were perfectly familiar with the IPA. I personally like to teach the IPA little by little to my students. And I think it's a great tool. It makes, again, things more visible. And they really gain some awareness of how Brazilians, very successful person, so how Brazilians who are still very successful, very proficient, all-to users, how they can actually communicate perfectly. But there are these features of, these are some features of Brazilian Portuguese, Brazilian English, and if they want to, they can change, and perhaps you can raise awareness. And well, do you think here some of these things would be a problem for communication, for intelligibility in other contexts? So these are some things that I would do with videos. And like I said, here you use a Brazilian person, but you can use, and I think you should use, different Englishes in class. Just one more minute. I hope Vinicius doesn't kill me.
I won't.
Because I really wanted to show you this that I intentionally had cut. It's also a video, so it kind of fits the brief here. This is something that it was like a homework assignment I had my student do. As you can see here, this Microsoft Word. And I had the student use actually this dictate tool. And you can use this with any mobile device that you have. It's very common for you to have a dictate feature in cell phones. Microsoft Word, Google Docs also has this feature. And look, this is what my student produced.
Try to eat the vegetables. Don't drive so close to the edge. She lost her earring. I need more air.
So my student had a script actually to follow, some sentences. So these were the sentences that he had to say. As you could see in that short clip, things were not exactly as he intended. So that's also a very good moment for you to think, okay, so why do you think this worked and why do you think this didn't? At the end of the day, these voice recognition tools, they're very good. And in pronunciation teaching, as we often say, it's not so much about, okay, so this is right, this is wrong. It's about what works, what doesn't. So if you try to eat the vegetables, and the computer understood trying to eat the vegetables or something like that, why do you think that didn't work? Why do you think that was not so clear? Also a very good way to have students being a little bit more aware of their own accents, their own pronunciation. And as I said, I didn't take too long in that part, but I really wanted to show you that. And where can you find some resources of different Englishes? I really like these two websites. My English Voice, which is a project by Kate, I forgot her last name, sorry, Kate, and elo.org, really good sources for different Englishes. And thank you very much. If you have any questions, we would love to address them. Don't forget to go to brownforteachers.com. Our next course starts in January. Pre-registration starts soon. So question time now.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, T. Yeah, we do have some questions, but I think we only have 2 more minutes for the questions before our next session by Carol. So yeah, no, we actually have 8 more minutes. So yeah, I think we can manage that. Sieni asked, could Mark please show how to teach the A sound? The ash.
We're talking about the hand. We're talking about the hand one, aren't we? Because in the game I showed you with lip reading, let me see if I've got it here again. Yes, here it is. This one, bat, bat, had, mat. I think it's simply a question of asking your students to open their mouth wider than they ever thought possible. So wide that it feels unnatural to them, because in Brazilian Portuguese, there isn't such a wide vowel as this. So maybe it's going to feel a little bit strange, but it's a pretty short sound, so you don't want to be extended. It's not like the dentist sound that we looked at before. So bat, 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 bat. That's how I would go about it, I think.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. And Reach Out Channel asked, could you show us the differences between the L sound and the U sound at the end of words, which is a very common mistake for Brazilian speakers?
Yeah, you can actually just about see my tongue when I say L, 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 L. Can you see that? Or do I have to go right up close to the camera, which is going to be really gross? L. You should be able to see my tongue just about between, because what happens is to use a Harry Halfhead here, for the L, the tip of the tongue here is touching the back of the teeth, just behind the teeth there, L. It must touch. And so with the vowel, oo, it doesn't touch. So there's your difference. L and and one of them, the tongue touches, and the other not. So at the end of a word, the same. Oo and ul, ul. Just make sure your students are aware of the tip of their tongue, make sure that they know about it, and make sure that they know they can feel it touching the top of their mouth behind their teeth there.
Thank you. And I thought of Giselle Bündchen's video too, when she says the fill you in. So thank you, T, for that. And last question for T here. I mean, not last question. How do you help your students with pronunciation problems online? By Camila. Can you help us with that, T?
It really depends on the problem. I think first, it is always a good idea for instance, whenever we get a new student or a new group, to kind of have a kind of assessment in terms of how intelligible they are, and also have their pronunciation goals in mind. Because you see, you might have students who need, for instance, this happens to me a lot. They're going to take an international exam. So for them to take an international exam, they need to speak clearly, and that means being intelligible. And the accent sometimes can interfere in intelligibility. I'm not saying that accents are something bad. On the contrary, accents are beautiful. They're part of our identity, and we shouldn't want to get rid of them. But there might be some things, like for instance, the L sound and fill you in. It might be a little bit complicated in terms of intelligibility from an examiner's perspective. So my advice to her would be try to first understand the pronunciation issues, the intelligibility issues that are going on, and work with them individually. So for instance, if this person has a problem with stress, is it a problem on individual sounds? Is it a problem on whatever it is? And then start working with things little by little. I think if it's all at once, first it's going to be very difficult for the student to absorb all that information, but also a little bit frustrating and overwhelming.
That's great. Thank you very much. I think our time is done now. I'm sorry. And if there's anything you'd like to end your session with, you have 1 minute. Please make sure you share also your contact information, your email addresses, so we can copy them in the YouTube channel. Any final remarks?
No. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for listening to us.
Goodbye, and thank you. If you want to get in touch with us, just go to Prompt for Teachers, and you can send us an email there. We'll be glad to share the resources that we shared here tonight with you. Actually, today it's still afternoon. Maybe it's enough for Mark. Yeah. What time is it there, Mark?
Well, it's actually 6:20 in the evening. Yeah. So yeah, it's nearly 1 o'clock.
Yeah. So thank you, Forensic versus Soul Forensic, for having us, and we'll see you folks soon.
Hopefully. Yeah, have a great talk, Carol.
We'll be here on YouTube.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
That's great. So thank you once again. I'd like to take the time and thank our sponsors once again, and they are Bridge Educational Group, Cultura Inglesa, DISAL, DSOP Financial Literacy, National Geographic Learning, and SBS. Now on to our next session, which is Adapting Pronunciation Activities to an Online Environment, Part 1. You have Carol Gonçalves, and I'm going to read her bio now. She has taught English since 2002 and has been working at SBCI for 13 years. She holds a CPE, a BA in Languages by Universidade Federal do Rio de Janeiro, and a specialization in English teaching by Universidade Federal de Minas Gerais. She is a member of BRAZ-TESOL Pronunciation SIG Committee and Rio Chapter Advisory Board. Her main interests are phonology, world Englishes, and materials writing for the classroom. Please make sure you check our program in the links I'll send in the chat box now, and also help us with your feedback at the end of the event. Without further ado, Carol, floor is yours.
Thank you, Vinicius. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. It's a pleasure to be here presenting today for PronSig. I hope we have a great time together. And well, I feel great to be talking here today after Vega and Mark Hancock, who have shared, well, great tips and tools with us. And the idea that Sue and I had, I'm talking now, we'll be talking about adapting. That's our title, in fact, adapting pronunciation activities to the online environment. And the idea will be to share activities with you today. I have some minutes here. And Sue, after the break, after my session, we do have a break. And after the break, Sue will be talking a little bit about how you could work on these ideas, yeah, how maybe you could build and create your own activities, right? So just to say hi, and then, but Sue will be back after the break, yeah, just to let you know. Okay, so um, let's start. In fact, when I was selecting the activities and also talking about teaching pronunciation online, some time ago, maybe 1 month ago, if I'm not mistaken, I read an article by Mark Hancock, by the way, and he mentioned, in fact, some of the ideas that I wrote, that I read in the article that I would like to share with you today. In fact, it was one paragraph in which he says, and he has already mentioned here today, that a lot of pronunciation is visible, yeah. And when he was talking about exactly the minimal pairs, yeah, the A and the E, yeah, in the article he mentioned that photographers often tell people to say cheese, yeah. So and that's quite visible, as it make us, yeah, appear that we are smiling, yeah. So when you say cheese, yeah, say cheese, and people have been using like all other words, yeah, but this is one of them. And he continues saying that it's very helpful for the learner to have this view, as he was trying to do here with us today. Yeah, he was all the time looking at the camera. He wanted us, yeah, to pay attention to the sounds that he was making. So as we had our cameras on, maybe our mics were off, but he could, if our cameras were on, he could see, yeah, the students, or we could see the participants, yeah, producing the sounds or making the sounds. And he says that it's one of the strengths of online teaching, that everybody can get a close-up view if you're using like the camera, yeah. And not only those who are sitting at the front, if you think of face-to-face classes, right? If we have, of course, depends on the number of students you have in class, or how your desks, their desks are organized. And the first time that I had to teach not only a pronunciation class, yeah, but maybe a pronunciation exercise in class, I've been using some of Mark's material, like the prom pack, and some of them, as Vega showed us today, we could adapt. But how about the other tools that are available online? Yeah, which other tools could we use to adapt these activities, these pronunciation activities, to the online environment? The first one that I will share with you, I decided to call it quiz time. I will be trying to take a look at the comments here as well, yeah, on YouTube. Well, in fact, as Vega and Mark showed us today, I do believe that it's a very good idea to work with minimal pairs when you're talking about pronunciation. Not only do we make students, use and make use and produce the sounds, but I guess it's also practical. And I've been using an activity that I call listening maze. So it works like a dictation. The students have the words or the minimal pairs, and I usually say the words, and the students have to circle which word am I saying. Yeah, they have to follow the lines, like the words like in lines, and they have to follow the line on the word they hear. And I thought of how could I adapt these activities to the online environment. At first, I just want to mention that depending on the level of your students, or maybe if your students are familiarized with the symbols or not, I decided to come up with this activity working with the symbols. Yeah, but we could do that step by step. We can introduce, yeah, the symbols to the students, and these activities works as the following. First of all, I use a tool called, I called the activity quiz time, but the tool that I used was Genially. You are probably familiar with that. I've seen some teachers, yeah, using these activity recently. I mean, since the beginning, maybe now that we are teaching remotely. And you probably have some activities to share as well, maybe not exactly related to pronunciation. This one works as the following. The students, as soon as they go to the link that I'm going to share with you in a second, the students will have to open the link and click on start. As soon as you do that, the students will have the words transcribed and 2 pictures, 2 photos. So the idea is to read the words, the transcription, in fact, and choose the best option, choose the best picture that go together, that fits, that connects, yeah, that matches the transcription. I thought of, I know there is a delay, yeah, but I will give you, yeah, the link. I'll share the link in the chat box as well. But if you want, and if it's possible for you, you can also read the QR code. Let me just check here. I guess I've just shared the link in the chat on YouTube. So I would like everybody to invite you on this challenge, okay? I like to challenge my students also when it comes to pronunciation. So could you please or read the QR code or maybe take a look at the link in the chat on YouTube? I would like you to experiment at first, yeah, before I show you. So as soon as you open it, I would like you to click on start, and you'll find there some words transcribed, and you have to choose the best picture, the best photo, which matches, just a minute, the word. Thanks, Thelma. Let me check here. Okay, it's working now. The link is there as well, but if you want to use the QR code, I guess you can see now on YouTube. Okay. Well, I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes to give it a try, and then maybe you can let me know in the chat box what you thought of it, if you think it's feasible or not, yeah, to work maybe with your own students, okay? Maybe you could tell me in the chat box only if it's working, yeah, you're trying it out, yeah? Okay. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Renata. Great. So it's working. I believe that if you choose the correct one, yeah, then the game moves on. But if the student choose the wrong one, it comes back to the beginning, yeah, again. Thanks, Thelma. Awesome. Yeah. All right. And as you already have the link, right? And if you go to Genially, by the way, yeah, lots of people have already shared, yeah, other activities, yeah, related to lots of topics. So you can use these ones. This link that I have just shared with you, you can also use with your students. And let me take a look at here. Fine. Yeah. Okay, so it's working great, people. As you have probably have noticed, I was working with the same sounds that Mark had. Yeah, Mark has just mentioned. He were talking about the short vowel. Yeah, the one that I guess I usually work with my students with these 2 verbs, yeah, which are very common verbs, like leave, yeah. So I have to leave, yeah, I have to leave now once again. So you can use the camera and say leave, yeah. He used the elastic, yeah, as well, the rubber band. And so you can make use, I saw in the chat box, some people like making other suggestions, other things that they use to show, like the E or say cheese. So I'm working with the same sounds. So I usually talk about these verbs. Leave, she had to leave, yeah? Or I live in Brazil. Yeah, so the E, yeah, the E sound, the short one. So you can use the same idea, in fact, to work with other sounds or maybe other minimal pairs. So it's up to you. And as I told you, I'm here to show you 2 activities, and then Sue will come after the break, maybe to help you out on how you can come up with your own ideas, and you can create your own activities using, for example, Genially. Yeah, I guess you probably have used it Genially before. Have you? Maybe you can tell me in the chat box if you have ever used it Genially like that, but maybe you have used it to come up with other ideas, yeah, for other activities. Well, that was the first one. Let me just check here. feasible, great. So once again, you can use your own creativity and come up with other ideas. I decided to do this one to work with the long vowel, yeah, like in leave, and then they show like the students, and live, yeah, I live in Rio, right? Well, I guess a month ago, I had the chance to take, in fact, it was a webinar. Yeah, I attended a webinar in which I learned, yeah, I came across pronunciation basket. I don't know if you have ever heard of this before. And that's why I wrote there that this activity, the second activity, was adapted from pronunciation basket by Sylvie Dolakova. Yeah. And the idea was the following. She has great ideas on how we can teach pronunciation. We have flashcards, yeah, as someone, Vega and Hancock mentioned today. So there are lots of things that we use to have like available in presential, yeah, face-to-face classes that we can use in class, in online classes, I would say. So you can like turn your camera to what you want to show, so you can use this way. This one here, in fact, from Pronunciation Basket by Sylvia Delacova, I guess that's how we pronounce it. She used it like cards, yeah. So she invited the students. In fact, you can adapt as well, yeah. So you can say the words, or depending on the level, if you're working with children instead of the words, if they are not literate yet, so you can use pictures. So you can use the words if you prefer, or you can use pictures. How have I adapted it? As I told you, these photo here, in fact, I took from her material, and I copied, in fact, yeah, I printed, print screened, yeah, it here, and I added this as an image using this tool here. So the first one that I used, it was Genially. This one is called Live Worksheets. Yeah, and then a good way again to show the long one, yeah, to the students, right? So the Live Worksheets. Are you familiar with this one, the Live Worksheets? Let me see if you, yeah, it has already shown it. Right, so the idea is the following. If you're using live worksheets, once again, there are lots of things available for you there. Games to practice different topics like numbers, yeah, seasons of the year, or you can also try to practice pronunciation. But how am I going to practice pronunciation? Maybe you were wondering, right? What do I have to do? Do I have to upload the audio? Yeah, am I going to record the audio myself? How can I do that? As I told you, Sue is going to show you that later on. For this activity here, I'm going to share the link with you as well. But also, I guess I have here the QR code. You'll probably have access to that in a minute. And the idea that I thought that I had, in fact, was the following. The students will have access to the link, and they will listen to the words. So they will be able to click and listen, yeah, to each of the word here. And they will have to listen to all of them and click on the odd one out. So I simply, as Sylvie, yeah, called the game odd one out. Give me just a sec. Let me just check if it's all right. Yeah, it is here. So I'm going to share the link with you in the chat box as well. Guess you have there in a minute. So how have I come up with this idea? We can work with the odd one out in different ways. As I mentioned before, you can show the words or you can show the pictures. In this case, I wanted to work with the sound, right? So how does it work? I guess I have it opened here as well. I'm just going to share with you. You probably have, yeah, this one there. If you click there, that's probably what you're going to see. And well, of course, if it's the first time that the students are working with live worksheets, or if you decide to assign it for homework, you should help them out with the instructions, right? But the students will have to click, listen to each word, and then they will have to click on the image, yeah, on the picture that they believe it's the odd one out, yeah. Oops. I guess you can see, right, my screen here. I'm gonna wait a little bit just for the delay. And if you want, you can already try, yeah, to do it as you already have the link. So you're going to click to listen each word, and then you have to decide which one is the odd one out. If the students are doing this exercise, yeah, alone, as soon as they finish, they have to click here on finish. And these websites, in fact, they're going to give you, they usually give like a mark, right? So I will try here and play, right? So as you can listen as well. Let's go. Okay, let's see.
Tab. Map. Cap. Blouse.
Okay, so how have I added, yeah, this audio here, yeah, to the file, and how can I do that? You see that it's pretty easy, yeah, it's not that hard working, so we'll let you know how. But I also believe that's pretty practical. So the students will hear to each sound. I'll play one more here for you.
Kite. Cake. Lake. Snake.
And the idea will be to click on the odd one out. Yeah. So for example, this one here, the student will click on blouse, for example, which is different from tap, map, cap. I'm going to do the exercise just to show you how it works. But then if you click on finish, they'll give you like the result. Yeah. Your mark. So this one, I will click one like that's wrong. Yeah. Just for you to see how it works. Okay, yeah, interaction, someone said here in the chat box. So the other one, just to
Cow.
show you.
Snow. Blow. Throw.
Okay. Right. And as you probably have tried to do it, you see as soon as I click on finish, let me click on any here, just to see the wrong and the correct one.
Chairs. Stairs. Pears. Jeans.
Okay. I just want to show you how it works. Yeah, as soon as you click on finish, right? And then you have to tell students that there are two steps, right? So once they have to click on finish, and then they should click on check my answers. And yeah, well, I don't like it much, like the numbers here, right? I guess they should have only like maybe the colors. Okay, I got these two right, I got these two wrong. Maybe I can try to do it again and listen again and pay close attention to the sound. If you're doing the exercise with the students, yeah, maybe you can call their attention why that one is the odd one out, what's the difference between the sounds. Or you can try to work with other ones. I'm using these ones because, as I told you, I took from the activity, yeah, from Pronunciation Basket, but you can use other pictures. As I use it with Genially, I selected, yeah, the images. We have like free peak, flat icon. These are the ones that I usually use. So you can select the photos, or maybe you can work with sounds that your students are struggling with, or maybe the vocabulary that you're working with. So you can select the pictures based on that, and you can come up with your own, yeah, activity. I guess my time is up, right, Vinicius?
Not really. You still have 5 minutes.
Okay, fine. Because I just want to show them something else. Oops.
Yeah, I mean, and if you go over your time, we will have 15 minutes of break, so there's plenty of time still.
No, in fact, I guess I just want to share one more thing, and then we can have time for questions if there are any, okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Vinicius. Well, So we talked about Genially and live worksheets. I do know that you're probably familiar with other tools as well. Yeah, because as today we had a couple of minutes to share, like how to teach pronunciation in the online environment. I just want to share with you a quote by Adrian Underhill. Today I'm here to talk about adapting activities, yeah, but I believe it's pretty important to talk about teaching pronunciation like in general. I really like and enjoy this quote when he says that we teachers, we have been doing, I would say, our best to integrate pronunciation. But I do believe, and I totally agree with him, that for many, it remains a supplement to the main diet, as we usually do. Like he says, listen, repeat, yeah, or listen, copy, repeat. And he believes that pronunciations, like usually in lessons or course books, to relegated to prom slots. And what comes to my mind is like the famous, the so-called pronunciation boxes. And he continues saying that as we explore it, yeah, I would say as we develop possible solutions when it comes to teach pronunciation, he says that something remarkable can happen in terms of engagement for learners, impact across the whole of language learning, and the feeling of enjoyable. That's why I asked you before if you thought the activity was feasible, and he says here doable progress. So doable activities, feasible activities. So integrate pronunciation to your classes somehow, and the students will enjoy it as well. If they are struggling, like we can struggle with grammar and vocabulary and prepositions and pronunciation and stuff. But if we try to integrate these skills into our classroom, I guess it's going to be worthwhile, yeah, for sure. And that's what I have for today. In fact, I wrote here like reference because you talk about the quote, and this is the article. In fact, we can share as well in the chat box the article that I was talking about by Mark Hancock, Tips for Teaching Pronunciation Online. Great tips, yeah. Some of them he has mentioned here today, which was awesome, yeah. So we were able to read and see things happening at the same time. And I would like to say thanks a million for the opportunity to BRAZ-TESOL and PronSig as well. I guess that's it, Vinicius.
Thank you, Carol, for such insightful hints and comments. I'm sure everybody loved the suggestions. We can see that in the chat box. And Mariana is asking, is live worksheets for free or do you have to pay for it?
It's for free. In fact, both tools are for free. Sometimes what happens to some tools is like they don't give you sometimes access to all the things that they make available. But so far, I've been using live worksheets and I was able to add the sound, you see how later on, and I've been using it and I'm not paying it. It's for free. I've been using it for free, in fact.
Great, thank you very much. So if there aren't any more questions, yeah, people have your contact, I'm sure. Please make sure you also send it in the chat box. And we'll have a 15-minute break now. I'll give you the screen with our next talk, which is going to be by Sue. Please remember to check the whole program for BRAZ-TESOL Teachers Month webinar series and also help us with your feedback. Be back in 15 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Vinicius. Thank you, everyone. Yeah. I guess Thelma is mentioned here. There was a question. Sorry, Vinicius. How can I use?
Okay, please do.
Yeah, I saw
Camila
something
asked,
about
how
children.
can I use that with children? Genially, the platform.
All right. In fact, I've been working with pronunciation with children in face-to-face classes to teach some things, and I have never used the website, these specifically, yeah, with children. But I do believe it's pretty user-friendly, and if you, in this case, if you can use the website or the tool, yeah, together with the student, maybe if it's the first time you're using it, Camila, and then maybe you can help students with the instructions or how they can use the website, they will probably be able to use it by themselves. I guess sometimes they teach us things when it comes to technology. Yeah, so I do believe it's possible. Maybe if you're using for the first time, I use it together with them. just to help them out if they need. But if you take a look at Genially, there are other activities that are already pre-made. This one I developed myself, but you can get inspired by other activities, and maybe the other ones are also working with children and they can help you out. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I will. The link to the article on YouTube. Definitely, Thelma. I hope I have answered your question, Camila. Thank you. Thank you, Thelma and Camila. So that's it, Vinicius, I guess.
All right, so see you all in 15 minutes. Enjoy the rest of, the break and then the rest of the event.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. We're back. If you can hear me well, please type something in the chat box on YouTube. Waiting for that feedback. While you do that, I'm going to take the time and thank our sponsors again, who are getting information here: Bridge Educational Group, Cultura Inglesa, DISAL, DISOP Financial Literacy, National Geographic Learning, and SBS. We're back with our event, connecting the dots between students, between pronunciation instruction and students production. And this is the second part of the talk by Carol and Sue, titled Adapting Pronunciation Activities to an Online Environment. Reading Sue's bio here for you. She has been teaching for 20 years. She holds the TKTs and the CPE certificates, a BA in IT, Lato Sensu graduate studies in both teaching and learning a foreign language, and in transformative education, pedagogy, fundamentals, and practices. Her main interests are EdTech, English accents, and teacher CPD, continuous professional development. Sue, the floor is yours. Enjoy it, have a great talk, and thank you everybody once again for being here with us.
Hello everyone, can you hear me well? Hi. Oh, this is so weird when I can't hear anybody back. I'm used to teaching groups, so this is kind of new to me, you know, not hearing
Good luck.
all the time. Yeah, thank you. It's a monologue today.
I'll be here,
Thank you so much. So first I would like to say that we are going to have a session here on adapting the activities that Carol has shown us, and I'm going to show you guys how to have your resources and use this technology that Carol used as well. And you know, I'm going to show you how to create your own activities with your PDFs that you might have already from your books, or that you may have this idea of what you want to do with your students. Doesn't matter how old they are, they're children, they're adults, you can adapt these activities to your taste. And I'm going to start with the live worksheets, because I think that they have a lot of resources that can be used by a lot of people. And they're not so easy to find. The resources are, you know, takes a little learning to that. You have to watch the videos, and you know, they're not so user-friendly, but they work very well. After you have created the worksheet, it is user-friendly. So just in order to create. So what I have here is a list of live worksheets. So I came to the website here, live worksheets, and they already show you a lot of worksheets here. What I did, I just researched for worksheets in English. It says language English, just change the language, but you can actually search for English as a second language if you want. Okay, and what is interesting, I clicked on this daily routines worksheet here. It's public, so you can already copy it and send it to your students. But I want to get your attention to these blue links that we have on top of each worksheet that we click on, live worksheets. First, you have to, you know, a button to add to your workbooks. So if you haven't worked with live worksheets before, I keep looking at the top of the computer, but the camera is actually down here. I'm sorry, guys. I'm looking straight at you. So if you work with live worksheets, you can create workbooks for your students. It's like you create a book for them to work. It's like the ones that we get that are printed from our publishers. It's just a workbook, but you can choose the activities that go in it. So if you add to a workbook, you're just like adding pages to a, you know, a binder or something like that. You can also download this file as a PDF if you want to print it out and then, you know, hand out to your students if you're having them, you know, pick up the activities in your school. You can embed this worksheet in a website or a blog. So if you are building a website with your students and you want them to go there and complete the worksheet, you can do that. You can build your own worksheet here and share on a blog for some example, if you want to have some feedback from people. You can add to Google Classroom. So it's going to share a link to your Google Classroom. You can share a link through WhatsApp, which is pretty common here in Brazil. You can put on your favorites. I already did. So it says remove from your favorites because it is added to my favorites. And for me, this is the groundbreaking one. How was it made? So you can actually figure out how people do the programming of this worksheet, because it involves a little programming. So you look at the worksheet and you see there are places where you can select the answers that are here, places where you can type or write the letter, places where you can listen to audios. So you have this funny looking audio mouse when you hover onto the picture, and you can choose the answer. So you listen and then you choose if they say play or place. So you can choose that. So I'm just actually seeing the worksheet work, how it works. And here you can type in the answer, you can select, and here you can drag and drop. So it's super cool because you have all these features, and you can transform a PDF that you have from a photocopiable book maybe, and you have this PDF from your publisher and you are allowed to use it. So please don't refrain from using activities that you have that are ready for you. You know, if all it takes is just a little tweaking, it's not a lot. So I'm going to click here on how it was made so we can learn how to program things. So when I am building my own worksheet and I have my PDF, all I have to do is draw a box on top of the place where I want the list of options to appear. And then I'm going to go and type in choose, column, and then I'm going to insert all of the options separated by a slash. And the option that completes my answer correctly, it's going to be preceded by an asterisk. So whenever I have the right answer, I'm going to type in the asterisk in front of it. And you can add here as many options as you would like. So if you want to have 10 options for them to choose, that's fine. If you are doing a fill in the gaps in a text where you have 10 words total in the text to use, you can actually copy and paste the same box to all of the blanks that you have in your text. And then you just go back and choose the right answer for each of the blanks. That's what I would do. And in order to copy and paste on live worksheets, it's a little tricky because I can go here and I can, I'm going to show that when I'm creating, because here I can only check what people have done. I cannot change their work. I didn't copy this worksheet for me, so I can only see what was done, okay? So here, in order to create the list, use the command choose column. If I want the students to insert a text or a letter, I will just build a box. But I will type in the correct answer in this box if I want this to self-correct. If I don't want it to self-correct, I'll just leave it blank. Just build the box and leave it blank. Here, in this box where you could listen to someone saying play or play soccer, it was actually I play soccer. So if you put the command listen and then colon, it's going to open a little box for you to choose the language in which you want to, you know, that sentence or that word to be said. And what it does is that it gets a mechanical voice to say the sentence or the words that you type in. So once you choose the language, you can click a button and say that's the language for all of the audio in that, in that worksheet, and it will automatically update every audio for the language that you have selected. In this case, they have selected English, American English, English from the US. And right next to it, you had to select the right option of what you were listening. So we create a box and we type in select, colon, yes. So that's the right option right there. And all the other options that are not correct, you go and say no. So that's easy. Yes and no with the select. And I am going to give you a list of the commands afterwards. Don't worry. Just want to show how things are done in this worksheet. And then we're going to do one a little bit more slowly, step by step. Okay. Here also I built a box and I typed in the correct answer. So if my student types the same answer, you will get a correct check. And it doesn't matter if they type in capitals or not, it will get the answer right. It doesn't count the periods as well, the little dots. Okay. Or the full stops. It doesn't matter how you call them. Okay. So choose for a list, select when you have many options and they are appearing on the test, the paper, and listen when you want a mechanical voice to read something. And if you remember here, we had an activity of dragging and dropping words. So imagine this is on your PDF, and on your PDF, things are pretty static. They don't move around. So you can select the place where the image is that you want to move, and you click and you type in drag. And you type drop where you want this word to be dropped correctly. But then you have to match the numbers. So here I have drag 1 is going to go into drop 1. And that's the correct position for that word, especially because it has a capital letter, so it starts a sentence. Drag 2 goes to drop 2. So no, he doesn't. So I don't have any other option that would fit here. So make sure it's not ambiguous. Otherwise, your students might make a mistake because you have 2 doesn't. Okay. So that's how this one was made. Now, how do I create my own worksheet? Okay, you can, as well as copy one of these, like copy, or I got the odd one out that Carol has created for you. And I clicked here on custom link. Now let's see what you have here. I'm going to generate a custom link. I'm going to create a new link for the same activity. So I can actually ignore punctuation marks. So I'm ignoring full stops, commas, periods, question marks, everything. I can ignore capital letters if I don't want to type in all the correct answers in the boxes. And I can ignore accents. In English, we don't use any accents, you know, graphic signs to indicate different in pronunciation. So I don't have to ignore it. You can also limit the time your students have for, you know, doing an activity. So it's going to block the page after. After your students finish, what is the default action? To check the answers, to send the answers to the teacher, or ask the student what to do. So it depends on what you want here. Now, if your students are using this for the first time, I would just leave this send answers to the teachers as a you know, standard value. Why? Because this website is free, as Carol mentioned, but it's free up to 30 students, if I'm not mistaken. You can have 30 students registered here inside their system. So you can check their work at any time. But if you don't, you can have, I guess, 30 worksheets for free that are private. If you leave your worksheets public, then you can have as many as you want. But they have a few rules about that. You cannot use worksheets that are property of other people, or if you're not allowed to copy them from any books for whatever reason, then you would be in violation of their rules if you made them public. So you can have that if it's a book that you use in class and you want to digitalize, you can leave those pages as private, but you have a limit of 30, okay? 30 worksheets, not 30 pages, but 30 live worksheets that can be private. So if your student is not registered in the system, in order for you to see what they have completed or accomplished, they need to send you an email through the platform. Another workaround around this is you have them check the answers, and when they are checking the answers, they print the screen and send you the print screen. It works as well. Now, something that Carol mentioned earlier is that she didn't like showing the grades after the students finish the activity. So you have these options here as well. You can show the grades without the decimals, with the decimals, or not at all. Okay, just don't show the grades. But you can show the errors if that's what you wish. And if it's something you don't wish to do, you just unclick this one. And it saves all the options right here, okay? So if you're into programming, you could change right in the address. You can show the right answers after checking the exercise, for example, after you have done the checking, or, okay, you just show the errors and then the right answers in green, wrong answers in red. It's something that it's really nice. After you've set up everything the way you want, copy the link and send the student in whichever platform you feel is more comfortable, or you can add it to your Google Classroom and your students just go to the Google Classroom and the link is there. But remember that they have to post the print screens afterwards or send you an email through the platform. So depending on how old they are, it might be easier for you to choose a different platform or just register them in this platform so you can check their work regardless of them sending the work to you. They just click finish and that's it. Do you have any questions so far? And let me go to the YouTube to see.
Yeah, Camila had asked, what's the best way to use these worksheets in an online environment class, in an online class with 8-year-old kids? And she's also thanked the suggestion. She says it's better than Google Forms for her needs, probably.
Well, if you're using audio, it's much better than Google Forms because so far you can only add videos to your Google Forms. So it's not as practical for a student to listen to something and then choose. I find that with children, it's much easier to use everything that is Google, because especially in my school that has been Google for Education for, since 2014, I guess, we have, this culture of teaching them on how to use the Google apps. So I would use Google Slide for that if I had a lot of audios to do. But what it's easy in this one is that it self-corrects. So the student can have a feedback of, doing if it's doing right or not. And here we have to choose the odd one out. I'm just going to click, I don't remember the answers, okay. We're just going to click whatever, and I'm going to finish. All of them wrong, no grade, right? But can Carol see what I actually answered? No, she can't. Okay, because there's no option for me to send it to her. So I'm going to go to my worksheets here. And you can see I have none because I haven't created any. Now I have asked Carol to send me the PDF. So let me check here if she has done so. The PDF that she used is here. And all right, so we're just going to use it, but you guys can, purchase the, I guess, the material through the website that Carol has, shared with you guys. I'm just trying to go back to Zoom here to share my screen. And here it is. Okay, so in my worksheets, you can see there's nothing is done here. I'm not using with this account. So in order for me to start, I go to make interactive worksheets, and then I click on get started. If you don't remember the commands on what to use and what is select and what is play MP3, you can go to the tutorial or the video tutorial, and you see a very slow-paced person doing it, so it's very easy to follow. It's not that hard. So for some reason it's not loading properly. Just go. It's not. Just because I need to show you, right? Something's going really wrong. I guess I was creating something. Probably.
So, while you try to figure it out,
yeah, let me just discard this one.
Hence asked if she can share the files with one group and then share it again in another one for free.
Yes. Any files that you create here, you can share with as many people as you want. And if they take the print screen and they're not, enrolled in the system, you can use it as many times as you want. It's free. It's what we call freemium. It's free with premium characteristics, but it has a limitation, right? But you can use it as many times as you want.
Thank you very much.
So what was happening is that I probably started uploading a worksheet for some reason in this account that I don't use with my students, but I just discarded it and now we're back to work. So the first thing that you should see is the upload your worksheet. So I'm going to get the file that it's my downloads. Let me see if I can use a PDF, a JPG, or a PNG. So PDF is portable document format. So it's a document, it's text and images. JPG and PNG are just images. Right, and then you upload. So Carol was nice enough to send me the image that she used before. Okay, so what do we have here? We have to create the audios, right? So I'm going to select this. See that I created a little box there. And then I want the person to say tap. So remember the command. We're going to type in listen. Let me see if I can go like, yeah. So can you see the little box? I'm typing listen, colon, and it's going to be all smashed together, but I'm not typing any spaces. Now I'm going to type space. Okay, so, and I wanted to say tap. Okay. For some reason, I think I have to open here the language. It's not recognizing, maybe. Type outside. Sometimes I have to do that. Okay, so it got it. When it's working, when the link is working, let me just open it a little bit. It goes like, it underlines. Okay, so let me just try to go just listen. It underlines the word, and then I know it's working. So I just typed listen without putting the language in. It opened a pop-up screen here, a pop-up window. So please choose the language. So if you're doing this in Portuguese, you're going to choose Portuguese. If you're doing this in English, you can choose between US and UK. Okay, sorry, they don't have many options here, but For me, that would be fine. And I can set as a default. So I don't have to come back to this pop-up again. But if you're working with multiple languages, then of course you can do it. And if you're comparing accents as well. Okay, so it's a speech synthesizer. Okay, and it only works on Chrome or Safari. So it may not work in all devices that your students are using. Okay, and if I leave it like this, the student will be able to see the border and the size of the, how can I say this little box here that I'm creating. So in order for me to adjust the size, it works just like any Microsoft tool would work. I just go to the border of it and wait until the arrow changes and I resize it. Okay, so I'm just going to select all this with Control A, and then I'm going to copy, Control C, and I'm going to come here and I'm going to Control V, paste. And I'm going to change the word to map. If you remember, it was map. Let me just, okay. Map. And the next one is cap. So I'm going to do another box, paste the content and go for a cap. And here, last one is a blouse. I'm just going to type in and then I'm going to erase because I think for some reason map is not going to work. Now, I am going to visualize this. I'm going to click on this little detective tool here, a spyglass. I totally forgot the name. So I'm going to click here to see if it's working. So whenever I put my mouse on top of it, it shows the icon of listen, tap listen. You're not, okay.
Map, cap, blouse.
Okay, so this is how you create a mechanical sound. Now, if you bought the material and you have the MP3 sounds that come with the material, you can also do, let's go back to editing mode. What you can do is, let me open a big box here. You can type in play MP3. And when you put the double dotted one, the columns, you can choose the file. And then you just go in your computer and you choose an MP3 file. I don't think I have any here. Well, I have from a CD track from a book that I was working with. And you click upload. But see, my audio was a bit too long. It's over 5 megabytes, so it's not going to work because it's not just a word, it's a whole text. So I'm sorry about that. But I don't think I have any audios that are MP3 and short enough. Let's just see. Yeah, that one worked. So when you view, you're going to see something like this because it's a longer, file. It's not just something that is listen. It's a player. Okay, so you're going to.
Hello, Sandra. Please have a seat. How are you today?
So you're going to listen to everything. So, and your students can listen to the audio and at the same time select the things they're supposed to select. So it's cool. So as I promised, I was going to show you how to move things around. So whenever you want to select a box that you have just created, go right in the middle of the box until you get this cross with all the arrow points. Click on it and then you can delete or you can move it around. And also you can copy paste. Control C, Control V. Okay, and then you can change the words inside. Or you can do as I was doing and then just creating the boxes, but then you get this, a small box, a big box, a small box, a small box. And as a Virgo that I am, whenever my students need to type something in, I like all the boxes to be the same size. Okay, so just one more thing for this page here. You need to select the correct answer, and the correct answer with the different pronunciation here would be blouse, because all the other ones were at, like tap, map, and cap, the one that you open your mouth. And the way I explain it to my students in Brazil is that I tell them, open your mouth as if you were going to say the letter A in Portuguese. Ah, but then you go like like in sério, but it's really open and really wide. And this one is owl, like blouse. So I select this whole object here, and this is the right option. So I click select, yes. And then for the other ones, I'm going to create a select no, because this is not the correct answer. And since I'm going to use the same one for all of them, I'm just going to copy paste. And you can use the keyboard here. I'm using the arrows on my keyboard to put on top of the item. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And then I just pasted it again. I just find it easier to align things if I'm using the keyboard, because I like things to be perfect. Sorry about that. And then you can actually check if your work is done the way you want it to be done. When you are checking that, when you're in the view, you can right click it. You're supposed to be able to do that.
Tab.
Let me just check it again. Just put a normal box here. Sorry, go back to this. Let me right click. Yeah, you're supposed to have this text box style, and you can choose the font for everything, but you have to be in the viewers, okay? It's not going to work in the editing mode for some reason. And you can choose background color. For example, I went to green for apply to the whole worksheet. And then it's going to work only for the text boxes. So other ones are going to be in the color that they are supposed to be. All right. So that was it. I'm going to finish this one. And here, for us to finish, I'm going to save it. I'm going to delete this one that I'm not using. I'm going to save the worksheet. And then here you can make this worksheet available for everyone, or you can keep it private. So make sure that if it comes from a workbook that you're using, you keep it private. Because it says here, sharing worksheets that are not your creation, that are photocopyables, but are not your creation, it's not okay. So make sure you have authorization before you make things public. Otherwise, just keep it private. You can put a title here. So I'm going to put as demo and save. Then you have a link, and you can share this link to anyone, or you can add to your workbooks if you have your students registered here. Any questions?
Well, in the chat box, we don't have anything else, Sue.
Okay.
But please, how can people get in touch with you?
All right. So you can get in touch with me through my email, which is talent4edu@gmail.com, or talent4education@gmail.com. Oh, it says obrigada, but thank you so much for participating and making your questions known in the box. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue, for a great tutorial on using live worksheets. I'm sure people have learned a lot, and especially with Carol's help before too. We got so anxious and curious to know how to use the platform more. And any final remarks, anything you'd like to finish off with?
No, just sometimes people that have to use technology, they feel like they have to know a lot about it. I would just give a recommendation or a suggestion, if I may. Just stick to the things that you know how to use, especially if you already know how to use a tool really well. I know that there are lots and lots and lots of interesting things out there, but just keep to what you know. If you're, especially if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed with the work that it's coming towards your way in this quarantine. So, and if you need any help with anything, just contact me. I'm also on Instagram as talent4edu, so you can reach me there for any technological tips that you may need.
That's great. Thank you, Sue. And now we have Thelma Marques with our last session. Thelma, let me just make your video available here. Thank you once again, Sue.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And taking the time to thank our sponsors again. They're every online event with us. They are Bridge Educational Group, Cultura Inglesa, DISAL, DISOP, Financial Literacy, National Geographic Learning, and SBS. Now on to Thelma's session, titled It's All About Sounds, ED Endings in Regular Verbs, a Tactical Proposal. Thelma has many years experience in teaching AFL. She holds a BA in Languages by Unibero and a CELTA. She is an innovative and dynamic teacher, has already given a number of workshops in the field of pronunciation, and taken several pronunciation courses in Brazil, in the UK, and Australia. She works as an online tutor and is always looking for opportunities to develop professionally. With you all, Thelma Marques for our last session. Please, if you haven't, help us with your feedback. I'm going to be sending the link now in the chat box too. Make sure you see the other events and stay with us until the end at 4:45 for our closing remarks and last Q&A session of the day. Okay? Good luck, Thelma. And thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Vinicius, for the introduction. And I would like to welcome you all and thank BRAZ-TESOL for organizing this marvelous event. It takes a lot of time and effort to do that. And you are such a dedicated group of teachers. Thank you very much. So I became a professional I am today in large part because of BRAZ-TESOL. So let me tell you a quick story about how I got into pronunciation, right? The first course I took on pronunciation was with Camila Lief in 2001. And she was the one who encouraged me to start presenting workshops with BRAZ-TESOL. So I presented my first workshop in Curitiba in 2001 as well. And since then, I've been attending and presenting several workshops from BRAZ-TESOL. I learned a lot with those workshops. As Vinicius already mentioned, I had the opportunity to take a course with Adrian Underhill in England. And when I came back, I started teaching pronunciations for teachers. The most recent course I took on pronunciation was with Vega and Hancock, and 2 years ago. It was an online course. I highly recommend it. And I'm living now in Spain. So I'm really grateful to be able to be part of this with all those online events. I would like to say a special thank you to the Pronunciation SIG members, Betty, Paul, Jussara, Vinicius, Carol, and Sue, without whom I wouldn't be able to be here today. Thank you very much. I hope you feel inspired by my presentation and start incorporating all the ideas that you have already had, plus the ideas I'm going to give now, into your classes. So before we start, I would like you to reflect on your own language learning in regards to pronunciation. How do you feel? How was your learning experience, right? Was it good? Was it bad? For example, when I was at university, I had a very basic course on pronunciation. And then only 5 years after I graduated, I started doing courses on pronunciation. So when I started teaching, my pronunciation was not so good. So I would like to know your background. For that, I would like you to go to menti.com, type this code, menti.com. The code is 6706666, or read the QR reader here and answer the questions that are there. You can choose up to 3 questions. So I'll wait for you and try to see if we were there. Okay. So I can see that you were starting to answer. I'll give some time for the people on YouTube to go there. Okay, thank you. So the options are, there wasn't enough training or practice in pronunciation when I learned the language. So far, we have 30% of the answers. I know where my pronunciation problems lie. I notice them. This we have 42% so far. And I know that I transfer sounds from my native language, 30%. So these are one of the main problems that we have, right? Some people know where the problems come from. Some people are not aware of their problems, or are aware but don't know why they are making the problems. And you have to be aware that sometimes you transfer sounds from your native language. And that's not a problem, but how can we deal with that, right? So I'll try to show some ways to deal with those problems that we had or have. So my aims today are discuss a pronunciation issue which is common among Brazilian students and teachers. We are going to revise some key concepts, share some experience I had when teaching ED endings to an elementary class during my CELTA course, and suggest some procedures for building learners' awareness of voiced and unvoiced sounds, like Mark has already given some great hints, how you perceive, how you feel the sound, the vibration, and procedures for overcoming, correcting the ED adding problem in the student's speech. So let's talk about the title, why I chose this title. It's all about sounds, ED endings in regular verbs, a tactile proposal. Why sounds? We are going to talk about sounds, not letters. And there are 3 different pronunciations to ED endings, 3 different ways you say it. So they are not the same sounds. In regular verbs, I chose that because I think it's possible for us to teach pronunciation even for very beginner level students. and from the first class, sorry. And regular verbs, past tense, is something that you teach for beginner students, right? And a tactile or tactile proposal, it's because I would like to invite you to use your hands and do things here. We are going to make cards together. So I'd like to remind you, if you have with you some color pens or pencils, 3 sheets of paper, A4 sheets of paper, and a pair of scissors. We'll need that during the activities. So, all about sounds, ed endings, not only in regular verbs. So this ed ending can represent, as we have here, sorry, I was out when you called me. This is an example of regular, simple past regular verb. And the picture is from the book Descobrindo a Pronúncia do Inglês. It's used with permission. I would like you now to read the other examples and identify where else we can find ed endings words in English. So you can type on the chat. I'll wait a bit to see the responses. So this one here is, we had worked out a problem before you explained it to us. We had worked out a problem before you explained it to us. This is an example of ed endings in the past perfect tense. The next example, oh dear, he's just arrived. What verb tense do we have here? Present perfect tense. I was terribly annoyed. He was really, really pleased. What do we have here? 2 words that end with ed, but it's not a verb tense. Adjectives, correct. So ed endings in adjectives. And there is one more tense here, one more verb, sorry. The data was entered, then processed. We have ed endings in the passive voice, right? Today I'm going to focus on regular verbs. What are the reasons for difficulties and the consequences of not pronouncing correctly ed endings? So some of the reasons could be L1 interference. Students and teachers pronounce all the letters they see, right? For example, if we have the word nome in English, we pronounce nome, we see 4 letters, we pronounce all four sounds, right? But if we have name in English, we see 4 letters, but we only pronounce name. We don't pronounce the final E. So we see the letter, but we don't pronounce the sound. There is no sound for that letter, the silent E. This is just one example. There are few consonant sounds in Portuguese. So according to Thais Cristófaro Silva, in her book, she gives some examples. We have amor, malas, and sul. So R, S, and L as final consonant sounds only. And in Beth Paul's book, we find, she gives examples of verbs, falar, ler, pôr, nouns like lar, rapaz, atrás, anel, and mil. So if we have words ending in other consonants, as it happens in English, we Brazilian students tend to add a vowel sound, and this is a problem. The other problem is there are no silent vowel sounds at the end of words in Portuguese. That's why we tend to add a final E, okay? I would like you to keep this information in mind when we talk about the rules of ED endings. According to Leaf and Nunes, some supporting evidence, some difficulties Brazilian students have which result in pronunciation patterns that diverge from those found in the target language are: 1, distributional. What is that? This means there is a difference in syllable structure. Apart from R, S, and L, R, S, and L, consonants do not generally occur in final position in Portuguese. What's the consequence? There is a vowel insertion, which leads to misunderstanding. And we want to work with intelligibility, right? Not with misunderstanding. Spelling interference, the id endings. The ed misleads students into the production of the e whenever they come across these endings. So it is produced, or ed in Portuguese, is produced for all three. An extra syllable is added in cases like baked, worked, opened, and which come out as baked, worked, opened. So how to deal with these problems that are very, very common? So let's, another author here, the book Teaching Pronunciation. They highlight the importance of teaching the rules of ED endings. Students who lack knowledge of the phonological rules for ED ending often pronounce every ED ending as a fully syllabic id or ud. This is a distracting pronunciation error. When such students are at the intermediate or advanced levels of acquiring English, it's very difficult to get them to suppress their syllabic id and merely add the consonantal t or d to the end of the verbs as appropriate. They pronounce all the endings the same way. Thus, helping learners to suppress the emphatic or extra vowel in verbs where it does not occur should be a priority when teaching these endings. That's why I'm here today, okay? Let's revise some key concepts that are important to understand the three rules of pronunciation of the ED endings. Number of letters and number of syllables. In Portuguese and in English, they are different. So let's compare here. I would like you to say this word in Portuguese. Europa. So how many letters? 6 letters. And how many syllables? Europa, 3 syllables. If we say the same word in English, we see 6 letters. So we tend to say Europe. But the correct way of saying that is Europe. And how many syllables does it have? 2 syllables, right? Let's do the same, compare 3 more words. França. What happens in English? The same number of letters. In Portuguese, we have 2 syllables. So we transfer that to Franci, but the way you have to say it's France. We have a final E here and only 1 syllable. Grécia. Greece. 2 syllables in Portuguese, 1 syllable in English. It's not Greasy. And what happens when you say Franci or Greasy? Misunderstanding. So Francis is a person name. When you say Franci, the person doesn't understand France. Maybe the person thinks it's a person's name. And when you say greasy, oh, it's an adjective, greasy, right? Chocolate, chocolate. This word is very interesting because it's spelled the same, with the same letters. How many syllables do we have in Portuguese? Chocolate, 4 syllables, right? And in English, how many syllables? Chocolate, chocolate, 2 syllables. So the concept of number of syllables will help you understand the rules for ED endings in a moment, right? Bear with me. Let's do this awareness exercise now. How do we count number of syllables in English? Is it the same way we count in Portuguese? No, right? We count the number of syllables of English according to the number of vowel sounds. So I would like you to think, let's see, let's wait to the, on the YouTube. I'd like to think how many syllables does this word has? I. How many syllables? Yes, 1 syllable. I. Right. Anxious. Anxious. How many syllables? Great. 2 syllables. Anxious. This word, I'm not going to say it. How many syllables do you think it has? It means line. In British English, it's the same meaning of the American word line. Okay, great. Q, Q, only 1 syllable. You have several vowel sounds there, vowel letters there, but this 1, 2, 3, 4 vowel letters represent only 1 sound in English. Q, so 1 syllable. Now, this one, the verb. Thank you for getting involved and answering on the chat on YouTube. Very nice. So the verb, we say queued, queued. How many syllables do you think it has? How many vowel sounds do you hear? Queued, queued. Yes, only 1 syllable because you have only 1 vowel sound. So it's important for students to be aware of these differences between what is written and what you hear, what the sound of the words, the sounds of the words. Now this one. You're doing great. Bored, bored. Again, only 1 syllable. And a last one. Thank you for your contributions. So here we have opened, opened. Pay attention to the number of vowel sounds that you hear. Opened. How many syllables? Opened. 2 syllables. Opened. Right? Also keep this information in mind. So now we are going to connect the dots between pronunciation instruction and students' production, right? So we've seen the rationale behind the ED ending problems for Brazilians and some Latin American students. And we saw how L1 can interfere. We understand the concept of number of syllables, number of sounds. I'll share the experience I had teaching a CELTA lesson. It was my first CELTA lesson. And as you may know, you are not familiar with the students that attend your classes. It's every time it's a surprise. And I only had 30 minutes to teach the past tense. So my aims were to present and practice the past tense of regular verbs and to develop students' awareness of the correct pronunciation of ed endings in regular verbs. The level was elementary, 0 beginners. Imagine their pronunciation. How would they pronounce words? So they needed a lot of help. They had this text from their course book, and the procedure was the following. The first thing I did, I elicited the verbs from students. The verbs in the past tense that they found on the text. I concept checked them, saw if they knew the meaning, and I boarded. So I wrote the verbs that interested me on the board with 3 different colors. At this time, there was no correction. So they said the way they would say the verbs, and I wrote them on the board. Then I told them, this is what you see, okay? That's what's written there. Then I drilled. They listened and repeat what I'm going to do with you now with no visual input. So I just started doing this. Please repeat after me, together with me. They would do that. Then, vd, 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 vd. They would do that. Jid, 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 jid. And they would repeat. Tid, tid, tid. Did, did. Right? Then I drew that, and she thought, well, this teacher is completely crazy. Where does she want to go? Yes, what is she doing? Then I said, this is what you say, right? And I showed them some cards. We are going to make these cards together here now, okay? Before we do that, by using the cards, students were able to see what they should have said, what they should say. So asked, changed, landed. And they repeated the verbs correctly because they were reading the cards, right? And they did a very good job. So now I would like you to grab a piece of paper, scissors, and colored pens. Vinicius, could you please enlarge my screen?
Let's only wait to see if YouTube recognizes it, but
okay.
Once you stop sharing it, it's also bigger.
Great. I should wait a bit.
Just 5 more seconds or 10 seconds.
Okay, no, good.
I think students think we're being funny when we ask them to produce those strange sounds, right?
Right. They had never seen me before, and I got, okay, let's repeat. At first, they were a bit embarrassed, but they got into that. And then, and what I wanted to show them with that we in Portuguese are able to produce those sounds. We are able to produce clusters, 2 consonants together. So it's not that difficult for us.
Mm-hmm.
Our problem comes from what we see.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to let you know, YouTube is looking good. You are free to go.
Thank you. Thank you, Vinicius. So I'd like you to get a piece of paper, fold it in the middle. By the way, this is the old-fashioned low-tech, right? As Mark Hancock mentioned. Now, I would like you to cut it in half. Where's my scissors? Where are my scissors? Here. So let's cut the piece of one sheet of paper in half. Right? So I have like this. Now I would like you to fold it again and again. So we have 4 strips of paper. Yes. 8, by the way. We are going to cut along the crease here and get 8 strips of paper. You may need to cut those that are in the middle still. So we have 8 strips of paper. Now let me see if this is going to work. I would like you to write, to get a black pen and write the verb asked. Ask in the past tense. So in the middle of the card, your strip of card here, yes, you write asked with asked, like this. Okay. Now let's write booked, leaving some space from here and here. Booked. These were the verbs from the lesson. Right? Now we are going to change colors here. And you can choose blue, for example. For the blue, we are going to write change. Changed in the past tense, sorry, changed. Next one. With blue, still with blue. Arrived. Arrived, arrived. So I like very much doing things with my hands because I like to move, and I think some students do. They are kinesthetic, right? And making it visual, it more for me as well, it's very important. And for some students, visual students as well. Now, change colors. Let's write with red. Landed. 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 And the last one, wanted. Great. You have to grab your black pen again and all the cards. And what you're going to do, you're going to fold until this end here, until it covers the ed end. So you're going to fold this end here in a way that it covers the ED. And you're going to write the sound T. Like this. T. Do the same with booked. Fold it here. And write the sound T. Remember that we practiced. Kt, 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 kt. Okay, here we are. Now, fold here and write the sound D. You can keep using the black or you can change for blue and write the sound D. So, jd, jd, jd. Remember that we practice. We are going to practice a little more in a moment. Arrive, cover, arrived, arrived. Now red again, or if you want black, no problem. To write the sound, cover here and write it. Landed. The last one. So if you want to post a photo on Instagram from BRAZ-TESOL with your cards, it would be nice to see what you are doing. Unfortunately, I cannot see what you have been doing. So if you draw the cards and if you made them, and you could take a picture and post on BRAZ-TESOL's Instagram or on Facebook, it would be nice. So, number of syllables. What happens? When you have here, you have, can you see that? Yes. You have asked, asked. The verb ask, only one syllable, right? When you use it in the past tense, what happens? You have only one vowel sound, so it's still one syllable. Asked, asked. Book, book. The verb book, one syllable. The past tense, this is what you see, but this is what you say. Booked, booked. No extra syllable, no extra vowel sound. Booked, one syllable. Change, change, change. One syllable, changed. Add the, no extra vowel sound, no extra syllable. Right? And land, what happens here? Land, one syllable. But when you say landed, it ends in d. So you add id. And you add a vowel sound, so you add an extra syllable. Landed. Right? So the problem is if you add this extra syllable to verbs that don't need an extra syllable. Okay? So let's start sharing again. I hope you are enjoying doing this activity. So this is what you say. I show students and they practice, they can make their own cards and they get the correct pronunciation from the beginning, right? Now I'm going to share a class that I give on my pronunciation course. And I also had the opportunity to teach when I was living in Australia, a group of volunteer tutors. I worked as a volunteer tutor teaching refugees in Australia. And most of the tutors didn't have teaching background. And our students had lots of problems with pronunciation. So in fact, this is a photo of them using the cards that I make and feeling the sounds, discovering. So this is the other activity I'm going to share and do with you today here. So how do I introduce the concept of voiced and unvoiced consonant sounds? That is crucial to understanding the rules, right? I would like you to make the sound, yes, of a silent snake. Right. Now, produce the buzz of a bee. Buzz, zzz, zzz. So there is a difference that you may already noticed, right? There is a vibration in one of the sounds which doesn't occur on the other. So if you put your hand on the throat, like Mark Hancock suggested, or here, you will feel the vibration or not. Let's see. Say, no vibration. So when there is no vibration, the sound is called unvoiced, or you can say voiceless. And if you say zzz, zzz, you feel vibration. There is voice here, sound. You added sound. Zzz. So this is a voiced sound. But they have something similar. What they have in common? What do they have in common? Zzz, zzz. It's a pity that I cannot see your answers right now. But what do they have in common? They share the same position in your mouth, right? You don't move, you don't change the position of your mouth to produce those two sounds. Zzz, zzz, right? You just add voice, you add sound. Let's get our other piece of paper, please. The other piece of paper. We'll need 16 cards now. So let's see how we are going to do that again. I don't think we have to enlarge my screen. Do you think so? Maybe? No,
yeah,
not
if
now.
people are going to see.
Not now,
yeah,
just 1 second.
Okay.
I'll explain first and then we'll enlarge the screen. Sorry, thank you, Vinicius.
No problem.
Okay. So we are going to get a piece of paper. No, sorry, I got mixed up. I think it's better to share enlarge now, because then we see how we cut and then I come back here. Let's
okay, so please first. Just stop sharing.
Stop sharing. Thank you. Sorry about that, folks.
No problem.
Too many things. So get a piece of paper, fold it in the middle, right? Let's cut again here. Let's put them together, right? Fold them again. Let's make some creases here. You have this, you fold, then you fold in the other direction once more. And once more, it's hard, but just to mark the paper here. So now we are going to start opening it and cutting it along the creases. You have this. Now I have to open it. With students, you can ask them to prepare that in advance, right? Then you open it again here. You should end up with 16 cards. So we have 4. 4. Cut here.
If I may share feedback on YouTube, people are
Please.
enjoying the tips. They say they're having fun too, and they're loving the tactile proposal.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad. So here, now let's go back to the screen, and you are going to need your color pens now. And I like to use pink and purple. And you notice that I used black and blue on the board. Why do you think I chose those colors? Here, to draw the S, you can use either pink or black. Why do you think I chose those colors? Because pink ends in a voiceless sound and black in a voiceless sound. So it helps me memorize that you also have colors, other words in English that end in consonant sounds, and you will know how to pronounce them correctly, black. So grab your black or pink pen, and let's write S. Copy the symbol for the sound S. Sorry, not letter, the sound S, which is a voiceless sound. And let's do this with the other sounds. We have its pair. The pair of S is Z. So let's draw Z, Z. Okay. Try to produce the sound, make the sound P. Feel if it vibrates or not, and draw it with the correct color on your card, either pink or black, or any other color, purple, blue, all the other colors, as far as I know, are voiced. Purple, purple, blue, blue. There is vibration, so they are voiced. And its pair. If you don't change the position in your mouth, b, b, you add voice, b, b. Same position, voiced and unvoiced. They are a match. Let's do some more together. If you add voice, what sound do you have? Try to discover that. Try to do that. Say and add sound now, add voice, vibration. What do you have? D, d, d. Okay. T, t, d, d. Another match. K, k, k. So from now on, I'm going to give you all the voiceless sounds. And I would like you to copy them, right? Shh, shh. This is a symbol of shh. Ch, So the activity I did with the teachers there, and then I try to do in the classroom, and you can do now, is to match those sounds with their voiced partners, pairs, right? So we are going to copy the other sounds that I'm going to give you, and you're going to do this exercise. Say the voiced sound and try to add voice. Say the voiceless sounds, sorry, the unvoiced sounds, the pink ones. Say them and add sound and see which symbol do you think it represents. If you make a mistake, don't worry. Yes, it's part of the learning. Mistakes are part of learning. So these are the other sounds. If you don't understand the symbols, if you've never seen them, like the tutors there, they've never seen the symbols before, even being native speakers of English, they tried and they could match some. And I'm sure that your students and you will be able to get some pairs by elimination, by error and trier. Okay, so I'll give you some minutes to do this exercise like we did at the beginning. Do you think we can already check? So these were the pairs we had at the first. G, k, g, k, g. F, v, f, v. Sh, j, sh, j. Here, if the symbol is a bit different, right? You can give keywords or example words that have that sound. For example, sh, as in sheep, or j, as in measure, measure, right? Ch, 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 j, j, j. As in chair, ch, chair, chair, jess, jess. Think, think. And if you add voice, the, mother, brother. Okay. So with the concept of number of syllables and voiced and unvoiced consonant sounds, let's finally see the rules of ED endings. There are 3 rules. It's easier to say a voiceless sound to add a voiceless sound to another voiceless sound. So if the verb ends in a voiceless consonant sound, it's easier to add t to pronounce it. We had, for example, here, you have look. Look ends in a, stop sharing. Well, I'll say all the rules and then we'll practice. Sorry, I get a bit confused here with the screen sharing or not. Let's see all the rules first. If you have a voiced consonant sound at the end of the word, it's easier to add another voiced sound. But if you have a verb that ends in t or t, I say verb because we are talking about regular verbs, right? But the rule applies for adjectives and so on. So if the word ends in t or d, you add id and you add an extra syllable, right? So for the first ones, you cannot add a syllable. Let's see some examples. Remember, we practiced kt, kt, pt, pt, st, st, right? Nd, nd, aid, aid, urd, urd. You can practice all this with students. And then let's see some other verbs to quickly check the rule. So look, look, ends in a voiceless sound. When you say the regular past tense, adding ed, you say add a voiceless t. Looked, looked, looked. Another example, help, help. No vibration, t, t, no vibration. Helped, helped. This is what you see, and this is what you say. Miss, miss, missed. Listen, listen. Vibrates, it's a voiced sound. Listened, you add d, which vibrates as well. Listened. Vowels or diphthongs are voiced. Play, play, you add d. Played, played. Remember, remember. This is what you see. This is what you say. Remembered, remembered. Remember, 3 syllables. Remembered, 3 syllables. Remember that remembered has the same number of syllables as remember, the past tense and the infinitive, the base form. But what happens if a verb ends in t or d? It's difficult to say want, right? So it's easier if you add a vowel sound. Wanted, wanted. You pronounce here want, only 1 syllable, but when you add another vowel sound here, you add another syllable. Wanted. Need, 1 syllable. Needed, 2 syllables. Here you can pronounce. You cannot pronounce when the verbs end in the other sounds. Only when it ends in t or d. Visit, visited, visited. 1 syllable visit, 2 syllable visited. Visit, 2 syllables. Visited, 3 syllables, 1 more syllable, right? 2, now 3. But share screen again, 1 second. So these things that I used are mnemonic devices. And according to Scott Thornbury on the book An A to Z of ELT, he defines mnemonic as tricks to help retrieve items or rules that are stored in memory and that are not yet automatically retrievable. So I use colors, I use cards, we make cards, and I'm sure that you know other ways to use mnemonics to aid students' learning. So when I wrote the verbs on the board, after that, what I did for my elementary class there. So I came here and I say, this is what you see, but this is what you say, right? This is what you see, and this is what you say. You use t. Here, you don't pronounce the E. It's easier, changed, arrived. And if the verbs end in t or d, the pronunciation is it. So you're using phonemic symbols with elementary students. I only use those 3 symbols, t, d, and id. So it's a phonemic symbol, and you tell them that that's the sound. which is very important. And bit by bit, you introduce other symbols. The activity that I did with the teachers, I wouldn't do with elementary students, right? Or if I did, I would use one pair, one class, another pair, right? Bit by bit, not at once. But there's no use in practicing verbs, asked, booked without context, right? It's really, really important to use it in context and in connected speech. So students would get used to the linkings and assimilations that they will hear in spontaneous speech. So little by little, with little steps, students will practice the verbs in chunks, and hopefully they will acquire a better pronunciation, okay? So as I love photography and cooking, the context I chose to finish this presentation was cooking. Which verb can you see there? What verb is that? The first one here. Let's wait and see if we can get some answers. Right, bake, bake. It ends in k, k. Bake, voiceless, k, k. Even though you see a final E there, the letter E, bake, written, the final sound is a consonant sound, k. Good. And what verb is this one here? The second verb. Good, right. Chop, chop, chop. Okay. We have two verbs that end in silent consonant sounds. What do we have to add here? Two unvoiced sounds, we have to add an unvoiced sound. Let's say it like that, baked, baked. I baked a cake, I baked a cake, I baked a cake. Remember when Mark gave some examples of linking words, final consonant with a vowel, baked a cake, baked-a, baked-a. That's what students have to get used to listening, to hearing when people say, baked a cake. I've chopped the onions. I've chopped the onions. Eggs. Which verb is this first one here? Fry, fry. And this one? The water is boiling. So the verb is boil, boil. Both verbs end in voiced sounds, different than t or d. So what you have to add? D. So fried, so you practice like this, fried, fried, boiled, boiled, okay? Thank you for your answers on the chat. Do you like fried eggs? Do you like fried eggs? You see fried eggs, fried eggs. What is fried eggs? If you say fried eggs or fry eggs, this is not correct. So do you like fried eggs? Oh, I prefer boiled eggs, boiled eggs. So the final sound here links with the vowel sound here. And you use practice with words in context or even chunks of words, boiled eggs, fried eggs, or in sentences. Then you can build up, for example, a dialogue using only verbs with voiced sounds. And then another group can build up a dialogue using only verbs with voiceless verbs that end in voiceless sounds, right? It's really challenging. And the last one, which verb is this? Great, great. Oh, here there is an exception, right? So it's special, great. It ends in t. D. What verb ends in d? And it's related to cooking. I'll give you some time to think about. Let's see if you know the verb. Yes, add, add. So have you already grated the cheese? Have you grated the cheese? Have you added cinnamon? Have you added cinnamon? So this practice will gradually train students' ear to the correct pronunciation of the verbs. So grated and added. So food for thought. Which of these procedures that we've seen today do you think would be transferable to your classroom practice more immediately? And which would serve as your background knowledge of pronunciation? Do you feel more comfortable using pronunciation and the symbols in the classroom now? Or you still feel the need for more input, more practice as a teacher? And what can you do about it? So think about this when we end the session and try to use them in class, try to study a bit more, read books, do courses, right? Because it's a new world. And students appreciate that. I would like some feedback from you. So we've talked about sounds, voice, vibration, symbols, awareness, intelligibility, cards, colors, mnemonics, and so on. I would like you to go to the site menti.com again, please, and type the code 7911663. And please share your feelings there. There's a question and you can write words or chunk of words which show how you feel, how you're feeling now after this session. I'll meet you soon there, here. What are the takeaways from this presentation? So you can write up to 3 questions. Up to 3 words or sentences. And let's see, how are you feeling now? What you've learned, something you've learned, something you want to practice more, an activity that you think you'll be able to transfer into your classroom. Let's see.
Thelma, as we wait for the responses, Karina is asking your course, is asking for your course. So is there any place we can see it, any website, any information, or your contact details?
Yes, I'm going to share the last slide with my email and contact details. And then she can contact me through my email, which is workshops.thelma@gmail.com. And soon we'll be having more basic pronunciation courses for teachers. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. So we have here interesting, enlightening, helpful, pertinent, intelligibility, extremely helpful. Loved the event. Thank you for attending the event. Fantastic. Well, while I wait for other responses there, I would like to share the last slide and share the handout for this presentation. Before the questions, I see some people are happy. Great. Amazing. Thank you. Wonderful. So the references are all here. And this is my last message for you. Do not be afraid to travel a new path. It may be the way to find what you've been looking for all along. Thank you very much. Here are my contacts. I'm redoing the site and the cards and everything, so soon we'll be having new things for you. If you scan the QR code here, you have access to the handout for this presentation with all the notes, some print screens of some slides that will help you, and my contacts are also there. Thank you very much, Vinicius, for moderating this workshop, and for you, for the presenters, for BRAZ-TESOL, and questions, if you have more questions.
Let's leave that slide for a while. Can you just move your mouse so it's not on the QR code, please? Perfect.
Thank you. So many details.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to interfere.
But thank you for noticing. Yes, thank you very much, Vinicius.
Also, let's see what people have to say here.
If you have any
awesome,
questions.
Thelma. They say thank you. You're great. Thanks a lot. Fabienne is asking, do you teach pronunciation all classes? How long do you use it? How long do you use for it per class?
So I love pronunciation, and I use with very, very basic students. Not the whole class. I try to use things that I need for specific things. For example, I had a group of basic students, waiters, and the main objective they had was to speak. They have to say what there was in the menu, so they have to have a correct pronunciation. What I use is I made a list of beverages and a list of food, a list of several things that they had to use. And I introduced the symbols bit by bit, giving examples in Portuguese and comparing English and Portuguese. For example, the symbol for J, yes. I had a student whose nickname was Jazz. So I said, Jazz, this is your symbol, J. And then I taught them to say juice. I showed them this is the J for jazz, U for blue, and S. Let's put all these sounds together. Juice. Then I practiced orange juice, lemon juice, and they said that perfectly for the first time. What happened when they opened the book? Would you like orange juicy? Then I say, wait, attention, this is what you see, and this is what you say. So the symbols I introduce bit by bit with any levels. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, I think so. And Karini, I think, let's see here. Karina actually was asking for which course you took. I think you mentioned one course by Adrian Underhill, right?
Yes, I took a course by Adrian Underhill where I learned, where I learned the phonemic chart here, the phonemic chart. This was in 2012, and that's what I use in my course. And 2 years ago, I took a course with Mark Hancock and learned how to use his chart. So the symbols on the chart are arranged according to the position of the mouth, like Hancock was saying. And you can use keywords for them, right? for the symbols. You can use colors. And what else? The first course I took was with Camila. And I read a lot. I study a lot. I like it.
Awesome. Everybody's thanking you. Great, Thelma. Thanks so much. Yeah, great. Thanks. And I thank you too very much for this beautiful presentation. I was commenting here with the girls. Let me say hi again. That I loved the camera because we could really see your hand and the drawings and the words. So that was perfect, honestly.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to invite, I think Carol is there. Carol, can you turn your video on, please, so we can take an official photo? Thank you.
Hey, Thelma, it was awesome.
Thanks, Carol.
Yeah, it was great.
Your presentation too.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing. So many good stuff. Oh, and just to let you know, as Vinicius mentioned before, I was checking our Instagram account, and some teachers, they have already posted their cards.
Oh, I'll check that.
So you can see later on, okay? Just to let you know.
That's awesome.
That's
so
awesome.
If you're there, make sure you tag us. It's BRAZ-TESOL @ PRONSIG. And also our Instagrams will be there around. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank our sponsors once again. Let me just share the presentation.
So thank you for being up to the end of this long day here.
Yeah, thank you to Bridge Education Group, Cultura Inglesa, DISAL, DISOP Financial Literacy, National Geographic Learning, and SBS. We're very proud to present Teachers Month, another session of Teachers Month event by BRAZ-TESOL, and we are one of many SIGs which are organizing events like this in the month of October to celebrate teachers' official National Teachers Day in Brazil. Tomorrow we'll have Wellbeing SIG, so if you're not registered, please do go now to our website. It's braztesol.org.br. There will be many more talks for you to attend this month, and all of them will be made available on YouTube. Sue is masked in the car. So any final remarks, ladies?
Well, I just want to say thanks again, as Thelma was saying. Thanks to BRAZ-TESOL. Thank you, Vinicius, for being here with us and helping organizing the event. And the participants.
Thank you, Vinicius. Yes, the participants. And thank you, Hancock and Vega, for making time to be with us. Thank you, Sue, for your expertise on technology.
Thank you, everyone.
There she is.
And everyone who participated in the chat as well.
Okay.
Awesome. So let's have an official photo now. This is the new way of taking photos. Smile and try not to move.
I guess it's on the other view, right? Oh no.
I mean, I'm checking here via Zoom.
Okay. Oh, that's okay. You're okay. Fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna snapshot it. 1, 2, 3. Big smile. I mean, cheese.
Cheese.
That's great. You look wonderful. Oh no, let's go again, please. I have to do it because Sue has my name on it. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm Vini.
Okay, now let's go again. Okay. I mean, not cheese. What other word could we use?
Dentist.
Dentist, yeah. So 1, 2, 3, big smile. Awesome. Couldn't look more pretty.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, everyone, once again.
You.
Hope to see you tomorrow in our next event by BRAZ-TESOL. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Sue. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Carol.
Thelma.
Thanks, Thelma.
Bye.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye, people. Have a great weekend, you all.